Good afternoon, all. Althea, afternoon to you. Leon Graves, greetings, sir. Daniela Williams, Neil Francois, Victoria Isidore, Annette Moses, good afternoon. Jeremy Lewis, Anna Assistant Diana, Winston Jack, good afternoon to you. Chris, greetings. Glenn Richardson, Kenneth Gabriel, John Keto, Cedric Hamilton, Carol Boyce, John, Charmaine Superville, good afternoon. All right, just give me 1 second here, folks. Deborah Duranty, Charmaine Superville, Susan Kadugan, good afternoon to all of you. Kester Billy, greetings. Andre Moore, Brian Batiste, Don Can, St. James, the Just Spiritual Baptist Church, joining us all the way from Ontario, Canada. Welcome. Desh Rubin, hi Desh, Juju Bernard, Andy, thank you, sir. Udani Bruce, Annette Bear, D. Hubert, 576, Renee Lewis, Freddie Williams. Leon says there's lovely weather in Toko. Ruth Fontaine, hi Ruth, Cyril Mejias. Who do we have on Facebook? Alicia Almond Rocher. Stacy, Roxanne Semper Scott, hi Diane. John Harry, Angela Wright, Claudius Alexander, Carol Myers, my good friend, hi Carol. Jennifer Dorset, DeBois Constantine, Janice Hamlet, greetings. Sharon Williams, June Austin, Pearl Dowlett, Jennifer Nathan. It's been a long time, Carol, as I say, still trying to get back into the groove of that, of doing this. Desmond Samuel, Phyllis Antoine, Ernie St. Bernard, Pamela O'Connor, good afternoon. Adriana Alexis, Jamal Alexander, June Nixon, Hazel Hunt, Sarah Richards, Judy Khan, hi Judy, Raymond Penny, Anne-Marie Remy Charles, hi Anne-Marie, Suzette Jackie, hi Suzette, Joyce Neves, Philomene Green, David Lynch, Rosemary Headley, hi Rosemary. All right, so it seems Chris is anxious for us to start the UNC bashing. All right, if you want to call it that. Joyce Lynn, Raghunath Singh, Claudia Jeffrey, Christopher Coffee, greetings to all of you. Gabriel Philip, Rude Trude. Arlene Stewart, so good afternoon to all of you. It's been a while. So, about 2 weeks or so. A lot has happened in that time. So much to talk about. I don't even think I have all the time to do it today. I'm going to have a constituent to run and see in a little bit whose house was ravaged by fire on Friday afternoon. So she's dealing with that. So trying to give her as much assistance as we can. So I will be meeting up with my counselor in a little bit so we can swing by and drop off some supplies to assist. See here. Adavin says 2 weeks. Leon says 14 days later. Sean Serrano. Yes. Yeah. So, as I would have told you all before, this platform was really intended to achieve a particular outcome on April 28th, which did not happen. But yeah, and I did tell you all I don't plan to spend another 5 years sitting here doing this, particularly now that I am in the Parliament. Schumer is asking, why does the PNM need to have slates for their internal election? I believe it creates more disunity, and you're so correct. Schumer, I am totally against slates, which is why I am running independent. I don't want to be part of any slate. I am of the view that slates camouflage incompetence. Right? When you run slates, people can slip in, they can't do the work, but when the membership goes out to vote, they just vote the whole slate because they don't know half the people or more on the slate. So they know they're voting for whoever is the leader. In this case, the leader is unopposed, unlike the last time where Dr. Rowley was challenged by Nunez Teixeira, Junior Barak, and Mr. Boynes. So persons went to vote for Dr. Rowley and they just vote the whole slate because they didn't know the rest of people, and they assumed that if Dr. Rowley endorsed them, well, they must be good. And therefore they voted. And so I find that everybody should just run independent. If you think you have the wherewithal and you have the support of the membership, run independent. Why you had to run on a slate? And furthermore, I don't support the political leader endorsing a slate. That's my view, right? I felt that when that Dr. Rowley in the last internal, when he said he was not fielding a slate, he was not going to be on a slate, and then he was drafted in on a slate, which I was against. And in this instance, I make it abundantly clear that I am again against the political leader endorsing a slate, but that is her right so to do, right? So that's just my position, right? So don't interpret that to mean that I have any issues with the political leader, which I do not. But in this instance, with respect to this, my general view is that I don't support slates, and I don't think the political leader should endorse a slate because you are supposed to be the political leader for everybody. All right. And when, as Schumer said, that can create a certain level of disunity, because at the end of the day, if the slate, if your slate doesn't, if you endorse a slate and your slate doesn't win, or not everybody on your slate wins, you as the leader of the executive after the election, you have to work with persons who were not on the slate or who you did not endorse or support. And it poses a bit of a challenge. But anyway, so many things happened over the last few weeks. So let me just touch on a few. The first stuff that I wanted to speak on, which has been a real bugbear for me over the last couple of weeks, is the issue of these calls for the state boards to resign, right? And I read the comments from supporters of the UNC talking about, oh yeah, they need to resign, and they're too bold-faced, and this and that. The PNM lost, it's time for them to go and submit their resignation. And these calls obviously are coming from a place of ignorance. And these people don't understand how these boards work, how the system works, but you're jumping out yourself to talk about, oh, they should resign. One of the things that the last PNM administration would have received a lot of criticism for is the fact that they would have retained a lot of UNC people, or some UNC people, on certain boards because they recognize competence. At the end of the day, the people who serve on these boards are first and foremost citizens of Trinidad and Tobago before anything else. Before the red, the yellow, the green, the whatever, before the UNC, PNM, or whatever, they are citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. All right? And therefore, the Constitution affords them the opportunity to offer themselves and their particular competences to serve the country. I can tell you it is very difficult to get qualified people to serve on boards. And I've told you all about this before. You see this Integrity in Public Life Act, that once you're serving on a board, or you're a member of parliament, or whatever it is, and you're considered to be a politically exposed person, and you are required every year to file this declaration, which is very, very intrusive. Every single thing that you own, you're required to put on this form. If you have 25 cents in your pocket, you're required to put it on this form. Everything. Laid bare. All of your finances, your whole life, all of your assets are laid bare in these two forms, right? And some people do not want to go through that, because you have to go to the bank and the credit union, wherever it is that you have money, you have to go and get statements from these institutions to be able to substantiate the figures that you're putting on this thing and all of that. And it is very time consuming, and it is frustrating, and some people just don't want to go through that. And they ask themselves, what's the point of it? What's the point of me offering myself to serve and I have to subject myself to this? And when you are considered politically exposed, by extension, persons who are aligned to you, close to you, are also considered politically exposed. So your family members as well. Now, they aren't required to file an Integrity in Public Life Act declaration because they don't fall under it. But when they go to the banks or wherever it is, whatever financial institution, and the question is asked, are you politically exposed? The answer is yes, because you are related to somebody who is, which makes you politically exposed. And now you have to fill out additional forms and additional documents and all of these different things because you are a PEP. And some people just don't want to go through that. So that is why it is difficult to get qualified people who could do the job and who have the capacity to come and serve on boards. And oftentimes, especially when the UNC is in power, you end up with a set of misfits serving on boards. We saw it between 2010 to 2015. They came in, all boards resign. Mr. Warner, I remember Jack Warner saying that if all you don't resign, we will fire all your, submit all your resignations immediately. People submitted resignations. And they did not have sufficiently qualified people to serve on these boards. And what happened? You had as much as a year, 13 months later, some boards were still without, some state enterprises were still without boards because they were scrambling. They couldn't find qualified people because some of these boards have a requirement that the persons who serve on these boards must have certain professional qualifications. So you might say you need to have a lawyer, you need to have an architect, you need to have an accountant. So you must have these qualifications to serve. And when it is that you're unable to find persons who satisfy this criteria, who are willing to come forward and make themselves politically exposed and subject themselves to the Integrity in Public Life Act and having to fill out these forms and all the things that comes with it, that's why you end up with the false papers crew. You all remember that? People come in with all kind of doctoring their certificates and claiming that they are this and they are that when they were not. All so that they could satisfy the requirement to get on a board so they could receive a little kakara at the end of the month. Because they're so desperate. They're so thirsty. Before the election, I was telling you all that, not now. More than a year now, I kept telling you all that. Right? I was saying, they're Jocelyn who want to be on this board and that board and all of that and who want to be ambassador. I suppose all of our ambassadors and high commissioners would have also subtendered their resignations as well. What is going on with that? What's going on with that? And this is the issue. So as somebody who sat on a board, so let me just elucidate, right? And let me educate some of these supporters of the UNC who so gung-ho that they must resign. And put who? Look at who they put the board of WASA. They put a man like Maurice Hoyt. Maurice Hoyt was the UNC's candidate who went up against Lisa Morris Julian in 2020 and get his backside cut. Right? Get his backside washed. What is his qualifications and competencies to be the vice chairman of WASA or the deputy chairman of WASA? And when you look at some of the other positions too. So I sat on the board of the National Trust. Government has their tiered system. So they have 3 levels of boards. They have the A boards, B boards, and the C boards. The A boards are the big boards that everybody wants to be on, right? These are the boards that make money for the government. So like First Citizens Bank, NGC, NEC, you know, these companies, right? The directors on these boards get the most amount of money in terms of the monthly director fee or the stipend. They get the most amount of money. So that's why government focuses on populating those boards first. And then they will go to the B boards, right, which is those that kind of making some money for the state too, but they require some level of government assistance. And then you have the C boards, which requires full government subvention. These boards do generally tend to make money. So they serve a purpose. They fall under maybe NGO kind of thing. But, you know, they consider to be lesser mortals when you compare it to the other boards. So for instance, C boards, National Trust is considered to be a C board. You have the IMA, the EMA, all of these different boards, right? They do critical work, significant work, but they don't bring in revenue for the state, right? So these are the boards that the government tend to fill out last. And they said, but the issue is, so I could speak for the National Trust, and I know that there are similar boards like that. So the National Trust has 10 board members, 5 appointed by government, by the cabinet, 5 elected from the membership, because the National Trust has a membership of probably over 4,000 members. And every year we have an AGM, but I think every 3 years or so we have an election for elected members. The 5 members were appointed by the cabinet are the chairman, deputy chairman, secretary, Those are the three. And then you have treasurer and a fifth member who's an ordinary member. So the way the National Trust operates is that the signatories to the bank accounts are the chairman, the vice chairman, secretary, the treasurer. And we also have one person from the elected members who's also a signatory. So when checks have to be signed, when salaries have to be paid via ACH, right? So you have to go online on the First Citizen, because National Trust banks with First Citizens, and you have the eFirst online banking platform. So when the in-house accountant uploads salaries or uploads payments for contractors, because the National Trust does a lot of work, contract work, right? There's a lot of stuff going on, projects taking place on Nelson Island. You have projects taking place down at Banwari Trees. You have things taking place at Millefleur and the like. So there's a lot of work, and sometimes we have contracts in the range of up to about $750,000, $800,000. The project to air condition the Heritage House, Millefleur, right? That cost them close to $800,000. And it's a contract that is going to be executed in phases. So the first phase was to make a payment to the contractor to bring in the air conditioning units. Then the second phase is where they will come in and they will do the installation and so on. But there are other work that has to be done by other contractors, because where the condensers and whatever and so on will be going, in order to run the tubing or the piping or whatever to the main house, you have to get other contractors to do certain things and what. Right? So this is being done in phases. So every time a payment has to be made, they want to get their money directly to their account. So it's not everybody paid by check. So when these things are uploaded, the way the system works, you have, in order for the money to be released, one person has to approve and the other person has to release. One person can't do both, because if you have access to the system and you could do that, then you could thief money. So there's a check and balance where that is concerned, right? So you need at least two people. As I told you, the signatories and the people who have authorization. In fact, the persons who have authorization for the online banking is the deputy chairman, the secretary, and the treasurer. Only three of us, because we want to keep it tight. But in terms of signing checks, you will add to the list chairman, as well as one member of the elected members. So when they come all going, resign. Okay, no problem. As soon as the cabinet was sworn in on the 3rd of May, my chairman sent out a WhatsApp message to the other 4 appointed members and told us, so please submit your resignation, right? Forward your resignation letters to me, and I will forward it to the line minister. And we obliged. And I did my letter and I sent it to her, right? And we sent it off. We didn't need nobody to come and tell us to resign. We submitted our resignation letters. To date, we have not had acknowledgement of those resignation letters from the minister, right? More than a month later since we sent it. So we don't know what's happening. So we in abeyance. Did the minister accept the resignation? Did he not? We have no idea, because we've had no correspondence more than a month later. And I'm certain that same situation also exists with a number of other board directors who would have done same, and the line minister is yet to acknowledge. But they're given the impression that PNM people refusing to resign, when in most cases they probably don't even know that the resignation letters have been in their office since Jesus was in Pampers. But they come in on the TV and in the media and making it seem as if people don't want to resign and they want to hold on to work and they want to do all kind of thing and bubble and issuing contracts. Rubbish. Because even when it comes to the matter of contracts, apparently you all forgot there's something called the OPR, right? The Office of the Procurement Regulator. I remember how that came about with the UNC complaining about, the government refused to implement the procurement regulation and the procurement law and all of that because they want to get contracts and they want to thief and all kind of thing. And the government went ahead and the law was proclaimed. So even if these boards remain in place and contracts are issued, these contracts still have to go through the OPR to be approved by the OPR before it could be awarded. So it didn't have no opportunity to thief, unless you're implying that the procurement regulator in cahoots with these boards to issue bogus contracts, as the case may be, for people to thief. So there are checks and balances at every step of the way. So when you're calling for the boards to resign, so we resign. So I'm no longer authorized to sign any checks, and I'm no longer authorized to access the people online banking to release anything. Chairman is no longer authorized to sign any checks because she too resigned. The vice chairman is no longer authorized to sign any checks because she too resigned. She is no longer authorized to go online on the people banking platform and release anything. And so too the secretary. So all of us who are signatories, people have to be paid salaries. There are bills to be paid. NIB has to be paid. Board of Inland Revenue has to be paid because when money comes out from the people's salary for the taxes, it has to go. And then how is it issued? Via check. How the check signing? Has the UNC put anybody on these boards? And the headache that goes in getting these banks to change signatories, let me tell you, is stress. Stress, because when we had our last election and the elected members, one of the persons, the elected member who was a signatory, she was voted out, right? So we had to replace her. And it was like pulling teeth to get the bank to make the change, to replace that person with a new elected member. You send letters to the bank, nothing happening. You're calling the bank, nothing. Stress. So when you're calling for people to resign and you don't understand the intricacies of how the thing works. So what has now had to happen is that because the 5 members who were appointed by the cabinet are no longer there, you just have the 5 elected members, right? So things are now being put in place so that the elected members, we need at least 2 other persons to be able to sign checks and to be able to do ACH releases. What's the challenge with that? They were finally able to get that done. But the problem is only 1 person is authorized to release and 2 persons authorized to approve. So if the person who is authorized to release, if he has any problems with his password, as often happens on that platform, and he is unable to get into the system, when the in-house accountant uploads these things to pay people their salaries, to pay the contractors or whatever, if he can't get in this, even if the other 2 can go in to approve, if he can't get in the system to release, nothing happens. Those transactions stay right there and they will remain right there, and nobody is going to get paid until he can get back in the system. And to do that, you have to go and contact the bank. And then the bank had to ask you 1,010,000 questions before they could reset your password in order for you to be able to get into the system to release so people could get paid. Right? And that is how the system has been for the longest while. No board meetings could be had because based on our bylaws, in order for a board meeting to be had, we need to be quorate. We need a quorum. And our bylaw says that the quorum is 7. So the 5 members who resigned, so we only have 5 members on board, the 5 elected members. So they can't have any board meetings because they would be in contravention of the bylaws because they don't have a quorum. Things have to be approved. So all of these projects that are ongoing, and the National Trust had a lot of projects taking place. And let me tell you, these were not things that were instructed by government or by ministry. You appointed a board and you have trusted the competency of the board to run this institution, and that is what we were doing. So a lot of the things that you see the National Trust doing had nothing to do with government. We were first under Camille Robinson Regis when she was Minister of Planning, and then Penny Beckles became Minister of Planning, and we were under her. If I saw Penny 5 times in the 6 years or so that I was there, that was plenty. And when we saw her, it's because we would have had an event and we invited her to come to the event. There was one time that Penny held a meeting at National Trust where she called in all the chairmen and vice chairmen of the various boards that were under her to have a meeting. But we never got any instruction from Penny to do this or any instruction from the cabinet as to how we should go about doing what we should do, right? That was left to us. So when people believe that they appoint a board and the government is telling the board what to do, no. In some cases, depending on the type of boards, the A boards maybe, but in the other boards, that doesn't happen. So if you ever go down to Nelson Island and you see all the things down there, such as the desalination plant, the board took that decision based on consultations. And the people who populate these boards have certain competencies. So the chairman, Margaret McDowell, she's a certified planner. She was a former managing director of NIBDEC. And then you have Nisha Ghani, who was the vice chairman. Nisha's family is into business, but Nisha is part of Citizens for Conservation and all of these different things. And she's involved with, I forget the name of this other group, international groups like Canto and all of these different things, right? So they specialize in that. Candice Ramsaran, who is the secretary. Candice is the acting director of Town and Country Planning, right? The acting director of Town and Country Planning, and she's been holding that position for a while. I am into finance. Then we have Jackie Penko, who was the 5th appointed member. Jackie used to work in the I think it's the Ministry of Planning. I can't remember what position she held. And in terms of the elected members, we have Mark Franco, who is a qualified architect. We have, who's the other person? Boy, we have Takesa Blades, who is an attorney at law. We have Dr. Cadell Jessamy, who is a medical doctor. So, and just now, I'm gonna get this other one. Let's see what's Ryan's last name. Dr. Ryan, right? Ryan does a lot of research. He works at the University of the West Indies, and just give me one sec. Let me just get his here. Right, TT, the council. Let me see. Right, we have, where is he? We have Susan Sherland, who also worked in planning. She's also part of Citizens for Conservation. And we have Dr. Ryan Mohammed as well, who is a researcher out of the University of the West Indies. So it's not no fly-by-night. You just pick up somebody off at the street and say, hey, you come. Yeah, you're activists. Look at work. We put you on our board. So you could get a little P, as I see they did with this clown, Selwyn Kojo, put him as a director, I think, on Caribbean Airlines. I heard. I didn't read it. So when the PNM is looking for people, it's not just everybody and anybody because you're PNM and we get your work. They look at competency and capacity to be able to do the work, and they put these people on the board. And that is why the National Trust has been able to accomplish so much. But when it is that you say about the board, and I'm not making no plug for to hold on to no board, because in any event, I can't remain on the board anyway because I'm now a member of Parliament. So I would have had to resign in any event, right? So if it's one resignation the minister has to accept, it's mine, right? But the projects that were in train, when you bring people on board, so you get rid of who was there and you bring new people who have no idea what was going on with the organization, you just get them a work because they have no qualifications, but you put them on the board to serve. And all of these projects that were in train to improve the offerings of the institution just falls by the wayside because these people don't understand the intricacies. You have subcommittees like the PDAC, which is the Tenders Committee. You have the Landmarks Committee, subcommittee, and these people who are trained with respect to heritage and so on, and heritage preservation and all of these things, the heritage preservation officers and stuff, they too on the Landmarks. When we have a board meeting, our board meeting is 5.5, 6 hours, starting at 1 o'clock and sometimes 6:30, 7 o'clock, we still in board meeting. We might have 15 items on the agenda, and when 4 o'clock, we realize we now reach item 7, because that is the level of depth that we put into every agenda item and the contribution that comes from every member. So we're not playing dolly house. When these boards meet, I don't know what else operate, but I can tell you when the National Trust Board meet, we're not playing dolly house with these things. These are significant matters. When we request money from the state to do these things under PSIP, Public Sector Investment Program, we're talking about millions of dollars. We are very circumspect with how we treat with these things because we understand this is public money and it must be spent in a proper manner. So all of these tours and stuff that we do, National Trust today makes money because of things that the board put in place. And again, we got no instruction from the government to do these things. This is the competencies of the 10 of us coming together, and you have one representative from Tobago, and we come together and pool our competencies to come up with ideas as to how we could push the organization forward. And then we have a very discerning membership. So when we have our AGM, they ask questions. They want to know when we produce the financials and all of that. And when we produce the final document, they go through that. We make sure it goes out so the membership could scrutinize it long before, so they could come to the AGM and ask questions with respect to the operations of the organization. People pay their membership dues every year. So we have a duty to them to ensure that the organization is run properly. So you can't just pick up every and anybody and just throw them in a board. But I read an article yesterday where I see Lennox Smith of Laventille Outreach or whatever it is, complaining that up to now, they, like the Congress of the People, still waiting for the government to get them something, because they were part of the coalition of interests, albeit they didn't win a single seat. But they're looking for, they want to know what they get in. And according to Mr. Let me get it here. According to Mr. Smith, he spoke with Prasad Bisasa. And she tell him, well, you know, you asked too late. You should have said up front what it is you wanted. So apparently this position was just up for, yeah, well, you're part of the coalition of interest. Well, where what? If we win, where what? You just say now. We're not focused on competencies. We're not focused on capacity. We're not focused on ability and qualification. Just because you decided to join up with us to assist us to win, we'll get a blind. Where what? You want board work? You want to be a minister? You want to be an ambassador? No problem. You just say. So apparently that's how it works with them. I hope Chris listening. Right? We'll get some education today. Let me find it here. The Laventille Outreach for Vertical Enrichment Love movement, a member of the UNC's coalition of interest, says it did not get a substantive position within the government because the Prime Minister said it did not ask for one in a timely manner. So apparently there was a deadline by which if you wanted to get a government work, you want to be a minister, you want to be a parliamentary secretary, you were supposed to apply by a certain time. The application date has now expired. So you could relax yourself and see what else it have, what we ain't about yet. The party which contested the Laventille West seat and lost in the April 28 general election stands with the Congress of the People as the two political entities involved with the coalition whose members did not receive a place in the government nor the parliament. Asked if it inquired as to why the party was seemingly left out at a news conference at the party's headquarters along George Street, Port of Spain yesterday, political leader Lennox Smith said, when I first communicated to the Prime Minister on that particular issue, and I told her board appointments, Senate, etc., she did not indicate to me, or she did indicate to me, why didn't I speak up before? Smith added that he initially did not agree with that position. I don't think I had to. I think the reverse should have been the case, but I should have been called earlier. However, he said it taught the party a lesson. So he said, oh yeah, we were part, don't mind, we are winning a seat. We brought nothing really of value to the table, but we expect, just because we were part, that we're supposed to get things. Board and Senate, see where they're going, right? The lesson we learned, we must be upfront and sharp. But Smith said there's still time for the love movement to get a place in the government. After that, she said, say what you want and what role you want to play. But initially, she said I was a bit late. So she changed her mind from you're a bit late. Say what you want. However, here they say, when there are persons that may, for one reason or another, currently appointed but not engaged, I would be one of the first to be substituted, and I have no difficulty with it. I want to see that one time. So in other words, if she falls out with any, what happened between 2010 to 2015, where it was a regular occurrence, everybody was getting a kobo sweat. So if she bring you in as a senator, you serve her 2 months, 3 months, and then she get rid of you and she brings somebody else. So he's saying here, basically what she told him. So here, what now, if at any point in time I had to get rid of any of them in the Senate, you will be first on the list to replace them. All right? But for other people, let me know what it is that you want. Smith also reaffirmed Love's commitment to the coalition of interest and said he does not feel as if the party was overlooked. Right? So that is Lennox Smith Day. But I wanted to tie it in because he's talking about boards and board appointments and so on. And I saw Mariano Brown also come out and talk about that there is no legal requirement for boards to resign. And I would think that where it is that you know you don't have people, sufficient persons, qualified persons among your ranks to sit on these boards, relax yourself. Relax. Let the board and them do their work. Right? Because if you were to do some sort of research, you would see that not everybody, some of these very people who are telling to submit your resignation, resign, supported you. Right? But the PNM recognized their competencies and put them on the board for the bigger picture. Rishi Sukai, his family was UNC. The PNM took him. They made him a senator. Right? Made him a senator. Because they didn't see as UNC and think, but PNM people was vexed. They complaining, oh, you have people working in trenches at the PNM for donkey years and they may get an opportunity and they come and they take UNC people and they put them on board and they put them in this and get them that. PNM people were complaining about that. Because UNC people don't have that issue. Save an example. Kamala pulled two PNM derelicts in the person of Sorat Singh and John Jeremy and put them, give John Jeremy the second highest position in the cabinet and made Swarat Singh a full-fledged minister, and all they had to do was to come and battle the PNM a couple of times during the campaign, and they were rewarded for such. The next issue you have, of course, is that these people can't decide where they want to put boards. So coming back to the board that I was on, the National Trust was under the Ministry of Planning. We submitted our resignation letters to the Minister of Planning, right? Kennedy Swarat Singh. When the gazetting came out, only to see that they moved the National Trust from under the Ministry of Planning to the Ministry of Public Administration. So now the line minister, based on that gazette, is Dominic Smith, the gentleman who went up against me in Malabar Massacre. Right? So it means that our resignation letters would have gone to the wrong minister. Whether or not those resignation letters have now been sent to the correct minister, I cannot say. But when they can't make up their mind, because then they might make a change tomorrow and you see them move National Trust from under that and put it under some other ministry again until they finally get it right. Given the work that is done by the National Trust, the most ideal ministry, appropriate ministry for that to serve under is planning, not public admin. I don't know what the thinking was to move it, but okay, that was done. And these are the things, so people don't know who to submit their resignation letters to. And that is what they have to, these are the things that we are, the incompetence that you have to put up with. And it's only been 5 weeks. Only 5 weeks. And this is the level of incompetence. But for the last 10 years, they're telling you they're ready to go on and they know how they had the answers for everything. 5 weeks. No discussion. You hear anything about the 10% that a lot of people voted for? Because the PNM wicked and evil. They want to give people 4% and Rowley take 47%. Rowley didn't take any 47%. Right? It was 28. I've already gone through that and explained to you how it wasn't 47. That the $9,000 a month allowance that he was getting as a duty allowance was done away with, and it was incorporated into his normal salary. So he didn't get an additional $9,000. Right? That is $9,000 he was always getting, just under a different heading, and they did away with it, incorporated it into the overall salary, the base salary. Right? But again, because the media jump on themselves, and they did the calculation and come and tell you 47. And the UNC did a bang-up job with respect to social media and putting that out there. And this conversation was being had in silos all over the place. When them man sit down by the bar and they drinking, they think, Rowley and them think, 47% Rowley get and they want to get public servant 4%. They're too wicked. All the time they telling me they have money, but you have money because you know you go in and you want to feather in nest and you want to get your back pay and all kind of thing and all of that. And of course, we as a party did precious little. Because we telling ourselves, nah, people ain't gonna study that, man. Because we talking about other things. That's not important. But it was important. Because when I was campaigning, it was one of the most frequent questions that I was asked to defend. Right? Most, I think so. What you had to say, what you think about this 47, the Prime Minister taking 47% and offering public servants 4%? For me, having to defend that. I wasn't part of the cabinet that made that decision. But you all know the defense that I put out. Well, it's not really 4% you get, because if you do the maths and you calculate the 3 increases you got on your personal allowance and you add it to the 4, in some cases you might get 12%, not really 4. That conversation wasn't being had on our end. See, even except when I was given the opportunity to speak in La Hoqueta, the first public meeting I was given the opportunity to speak at, and I raised the issue, and all of a sudden people eyes open. Yeah. So I go, hey, I listen to you and you really make some sense. Yeah, I never really thought about it. I'm talking about academics, people who work in UE as big professors and all kind of thing. Doctor this and doctor that, meeting me and telling me that, I never really thought about that. You make some good sense. Businessmen and all telling me that, yeah, but you really make some sense there. Because it's not just the public sector. Private sector get pay raise too from the government. Private sector people who not impacted by the 4%, them vex with the government too. And say they ain't voting. They ain't voting PNM. Because if some family member, they just vex. They don't even have family members working in the public service. But them just vex because the PNM paying 4% and Rowley take 47%. But the discussion was not being had that while all you're beating up on Rowley for 47, the same Salary Review Commission report gave the then opposition leader, Kamala Prasad Bisasa, a 72% pay raise. But as I always say under UNC, less is more. So 47 was more than 72. But we in the PNM didn't do a very good job of highlighting the fact that while Kamala yapping about, oh, they're not supporting it and all of that and thing, she got 72%. 72% increase, right? As leader of the opposition. But we weren't talking about that because we figure, yeah, we have it in the bag, man. 10 PNM people coming out and vote. Well, we could take consolation in the fact that while they withheld their votes from us, they didn't give it to the UNC. But there are consequences. As they say, elections have consequences. And I can tell you all that while some people may figure, well, my decision to withhold my vote because I was vexed about the 47%, or I don't think the PNM government did a proper job in explaining this issue about the pension and if you had $25,000 or more in savings, you ain't gonna qualify for, you wouldn't get your pension and all of that. These are things that I had to deal with on the campaign too. Senior citizens who make up a significant portion of the voting populations were concerned that they would lose their pensions because we did a piss poor job of explaining to them what the situation was. And they were afraid and they didn't go out and vote. But as I keep saying, when each individual made the decision that they were not going to vote, right? Who normally vote for the PNM, they didn't do this in mass. They didn't meet in a big meeting in the Crawford Stadium or in some stadium or some place there, and they had a discussion and say, we are voting all 98,000 or 100 and something thousand, but they didn't make that decision. Everybody thinking that their one little vote wouldn't count. It's just me and the 3 people in my house, or the 5 away in this house. We are voting, and I just 5. It doesn't really make a difference, but we just vote in conscience because we vex. We upset with the PNM, right? Not knowing that you had 100 and something thousand other persons thinking the same way. We didn't know that, but the UNC were doing the groundwork. They used, from what I've been told, they used AI, and they were using AI and putting in all different kind of they're plotting different information and all of that, and all this AI technology was telling them the seats that they're likely to win, most likely to win. So they knew long before the election, when Jolene was saying with confidence that their polling shows that they're ahead and where they're going to win. They knew because they were using the technology. They were using the technology, so they don't know they were going to win Grandi. They knew they were going to win La Joqueta Talparo. They knew they were going to win St. Joseph. They knew they were going to win Tunapuna long before. Right? Because they were using the technology. And they had the backing of all of these contractors who were willing to spend millions. I am advised that they spent $15 million in Toko Sangi Grandi alone. Toko Sangi Grandi alone, they spent $15 million. Right? And I have that from reliable sources. They spent their money. And I am also reliably advised that the team that they were working with, who assisted them with all of this AI and all of their ad campaign and the social media campaign and so on for the election, came to the PNM first, and we rejected them. We said, nah, thanks, but no thanks. And they went to the UNC. UNC, yeah, we got taken. Yeah, we taken that. Yeah, we'll find how much it is, no problem. And they pick up the phone and they call the people, money paid. Yes, they made the investment. We say, now we did that, we good. Yeah, they can't beat 40 in Tunapuna. No way. Roger Alexander, he can't beat 40. Yeah, Forest have it in the bag in San Fernando West. But all you forget, the EBC removed 2 pro-UNC polling divisions from San Fernando East and put it in San Fernando West and increased the UNC support in San Fernando West. So maybe it's a good thing they do that, because if they had left it in East, given the margin by which Brian Manning won, we might have lost that seat. Yeah? So it was between a rock and a hard place. Because again, PNM people upset. When they upset, they don't vote. UNC supporters could be how upset they want. They're going out and vote. Right? In numbers. And I kept telling you all, the UNC supporters were motivated to vote. They couldn't care. All the bacchanal they had with the internal election and who was called the Makaram and who is traitor. They didn't care. They were energized and motivated to vote. And they went out and did that. And that is one thing that PNM supporters could probably learn from the UNC. You see, there are other avenues to express your dissatisfaction with the party. But when you choose to withhold your vote, and you allow the other party to get inside. PNM now, 13 of us, well, not just the 13 of us, but the party now has the challenge to, they keep saying rebuild. I don't like this word rebuild. The PNM is strong. After God, the PNM is supposed to be great, built on a solid foundation. So it would take more than an election loss to rattle our cage and to destabilize our foundation. What we need to do is recalibrate, realign. Even the most expensive of cars, the most luxurious of cars, riding on the road from time to time is out of alignment and the tires start to cut. So you need to go by the mechanic for them to realign. That is what we need, is a realignment. But you all have made it very difficult. The task is a difficult one. Yeah. So all who say, well, we know the UNC how it is going now. Anytime you pay them out of office, it's just one term and then they just come back. But the damage that is done in that one term by the other side, whenever the PNM comes back, they have to now fix that damage when they should be focusing on progressing. They have to do some repairs, right? And so supporters of the party who didn't vote and allowed the UNC to end up in government. You know the sad part? Is that some of you all didn't vote and you're not willing to assist in any way to get the PNM back on track. Because you tell yourself that the only contribution you're supposed to make is when election day come, you go and vote. And it takes a lot more than that. Because in the meantime, it seems that the UNC supporters didn't get a memo that your party won. You all are in office. You all are in government. You all in charge, according to Sharpa. All you in charge now. Right? But you all still commenting on Facebook and posting things as if you all campaigning still. You all won. I have never seen it. They say sore losers. These are sore winners. Or they're still fighting as if it is the PNM in government. And what the problem is? A lot of the things that you all that were supposed to be fixed and fixed, and you're all creating distractions because murder still continues unabated. You all were supposed to have the solution. Yeah, Alexander. Johnny Bravo. Yeah, don't worry when you see Alexander coming there, them criminals could be on the run. Really? But apparently the criminals didn't get a memo that there was an election on the 28th of April and the UNC is in power and Roger Alexander is the Minister of Homeland Security with responsibility for the TTPS. You all used to beat up on Hines. Hines incompetent, narcolepsy Hines, sleepy Hines, ride on a horse with a 8-year-old boy Hines. As Randall Roberts used to be saying those things. And every day all they beating on Hines. How much times all they hear from Roger Alexander in the last 5 weeks? How many times? What is his plan? We went from gates, walls, cameras to we're going to look at the El Salvadorian model to deal with crime. We hear nothing more about that. All we see in him now is pictures and videos with him playing tassa drum and all kind of thing and just up in his Indian wear and whatnot and this tight suit. You see him inspecting new police cars that were purchased by the last administration and so on. 5 weeks. What has he done? They tell Ali in 6 months' time, crime will be a thing of the past. So it will be significantly down. Well, one month gone, you have 5 more. Well, sorry, 4 and 3 weeks. 1 month and 1 week gone. Right? No talk about murders. All of a sudden, the supporters of the UNC have developed the patience of Job when it comes to fighting crime. And only talking as certain nonsense, give the people time to. So all these people who get killed in the last 5 weeks, how are we giving them time? They're dead. Right? They either dust in the wind or shooting up daisies, as they say. How are we helping them? And when it is we bring this to your attention, hear them. Yeah, the PNM caused that because the PNM last. So we can expect to hear for these next 5 years, as I kept telling you all we hear is the PNM, and it's because the PNM did this and the PNM that and the PNM the last 10 years and the last 10 years. All who vote for 10%, when all they get in it? You don't know? All right. You know who doesn't know either? The person who told you all she was going to give it to you. Let me see if I find it here. Where is it? Yes, now give me 1 second. Let me find it. So many things. Even them, the labor movement, they too have developed the patience of Job. No idea when they're going to get, when the 10% going to come, but yeah, it coming. Might be 2 weeks before the election, and we just tell you them, it coming, don't worry, it coming. Just remember, as I told you, when they give already 10, whenever that happens, Just remember the next negotiating period. You can't go, I give you 10 or more now, and then the next negotiating period come and I tell you I'm giving you less than 10. That can't work. So going forward, for the next 5 years, all negotiations must start at 10 at least. Can't be less than that. So when we don't know one thing and where the money coming from and all of that. Ask Tanku, where the money coming from? Payback? Property tax? Tanku's a madman? Let Tanku tell you where the money coming from to do that. Because he say that. I never say that. He say so. That's what she telling earlier. Right? Not behaving like a prime minister. Every time Dr. Oli had a press conference and he had to reference a minister, he would say minister so-and-so or minister so-and-so. Prasad Bisasa, like she forgets she's the prime minister, not the leader of the opposition. So you come into a press conference and you throw into your ministers by their last name. Munilal and Tanku and Alexander. No title, no. You just calling people by the last name and this one and that one. But when you say Kamla, all vex. Put title, put handle to her name, but she don't know to put handle to her own minister's name when you are at a press conference. All right. Let me get here. Listen. Not me, she says.
Do you anticipate that negotiations will begin, especially with the PSA, given the promise of that 10% increase?
As soon as we can. I can't give you a date. No, I won't give you a date because tomorrow you tell me I said the 10th and today is the 11th. So I will tell you as soon as we can.
Do you anticipate that negotiations will begin, especially with the PSA, given the promise of that 10% increase?
As soon as we can. I can't give you a date. No, I won't give you a date because tomorrow you tell me I said the 10th and today is the 11th. So I will tell you as soon as we can.
Do you anticipate?
As soon as we can. I'll tell you as soon as we can. When that could be, I don't know. Could be a year from now, 2 years from now, as soon as we can. I ain't giving you no date, because if I tell you the 10th, you're going to tell me today is 11th. I said it was the 10th. So I ain't giving you no date to hold me to. What going on with the refinery? It's been 5 weeks. What going on with that? We had a company here from Nigeria that was in negotiations, active negotiations with TPHL. Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited. Active negotiations, they were ready to invest their money, not the government money, their money, to be able to reopen the refinery. Right? After the government went through years of trying to finally pin down a company that is willing to bring in their own money, their own resources, and the state would not have to put any money in that. Right? So these people in Abeyance, they don't know what's going on because they're hearing things in the wind. On the lam, reading things in the papers, but we can't get all no comment because we know we were having discussions with TPHL and now that board is gone. We don't know if a new board has been installed there yet. We don't know. We just hear. But unlike the people of Trinidad and Tobago who have suddenly developed the patience of Job, we don't have that patience. You give them a little more time, but understand, we have capital tied up that we're looking to invest in that. So if all feel they're going to keep us here indefinitely, and that money just sit down there when we could use that money to go and invest in something else elsewhere. Understand, when we gone, we gone. So if this thing we hear about the Confederation and this and who not and OWT and all that don't work out, don't expect that they're going to come and call us back to say, well, yeah, but now we made a mistake and we want to re-engage you. That's good enough, but unfortunately that capital has already been spent. Right? So, but thanks for the offer anyway, right? Guyana that have more oil than us, producing over 600,000 barrels of oil per day. The government don't want nothing with no refinery. They made it abundantly clear. They're not investing in no refinery. They're not spending no money on no refinery. They're not interested because they learned from the Trinidad model. They don't want to have workers protesting because they want pay raise and all kind of thing. We're not going through that. So we will put out an RFP, and if any private company wants to come and open a refinery, we will assist them with the land, and we will give them some preferential treatment as it pertains to the oil. Access to oil. That's about it. We don't want no ownership stake. We want no part in that because we don't want that headache. But only in Trinidad here, we sing in that song. Refinery must be opened under the government, and the government and its state asset and so on. Okay. But we ain't hearing nothing about that. All the major talking points that were used during the election, we ain't hearing nothing about that. All of a sudden, crime is not an issue anymore. Still hearing about home invasions, people getting killed in home invasions, people getting shot. Home invasions. No talk about that. Right? No. UNC supporters, it's not so much of a problem anymore. We're bearing with it. Yeah. We're fed up with Heinz. But we ain't calling, yeah, Alexander still new. Really? Okay. So every time somebody dead, tell her, hey, hard luck there, no. Tell the family hard luck, but don't worry, Alexander still new. 2 months from now, a man get killed, gunned down. Yeah, what to tell the family when they go to offer condolences? Alexander still new. We're sorry, that they couldn't see, the government couldn't come up with a plan. They had 10 years to come up with plans. They had the solution to every problem. The PNM is incompetent. They don't know how to govern. Put us in office and we will fix the problems. Where is the crime plan that you developed over the last 5 years, knowing that an election was coming so that as soon as you come into office, you could implement it and treat with the crime situation? Yes, we see that there is a significant reduction in the numbers with respect to the number of murders year to date as opposed to last year. Understand that has nothing to do with the UNC. Absolutely nothing. Because they have put nothing in place in the last 5 weeks since they've been in office to combat crime. And that reduction year to date started under the former PNM administration, right? Because as at the end of April, the election was held, there were 147 murders, I believe, as opposed to the same period last year, there were 176 murders as at the end of April, right? So that reduction had already started with the imposition of the SOE and other things that the police had done. So when they want to come and claim, when at the end of the year, we see that the total number of murders is less than last, and they want to say it because the UNC was in office. Understand that that trend started since earlier on this year with the implementation of the SOE. And it continued and continues because up to date, no UNC person could come and tell me one damn thing that your government has done in the last 5 weeks to address the crime situation, other than talk about stand your ground. And we bring in the laws, we actively putting the law in place so that citizens make it easier for citizens to acquire firearms. But for the last 5 years, we're hearing people suffering. They can't buy food, they can't send their children to school, they can't pay their bills. But they're going to give priority to finding money to buy a gun. Going to take loan to buy a gun, or the government is going to subsidize the purchase of guns. And when you have to go on the gun range as is required, right, to keep your gun, to go and do practice, where you get any money from to buy the bullets? And you're suffering? You can't pay your bills. Who that really for? Well, all them gun shop and them all who looking now to get license to be able to open a gun shop so they could import guns and make money. The rich can get richer. Yeah, and it's not the PNM, Not the PNM doing that. Right? So all them gun shop owners, so they don't know where to go and buy a gun, just know what they will know. Don't worry. Don't worry. When the government had decriminalized marijuana, and they were saying, hey, watch all their friends and family and financiers going and open cannabis shop to be able to sell the marijuana, and they're going and give all the license to their friend so they can make money and get rich. Who come now going and give the licenses to bring in the guns? She going to give it to the man who living on the corner in Barakpa? Somebody who living in Lal Bihari Trace and Pinal or wherever it is, that's who she going to give it to? Really? It's the same 1% that all your cousin and say the PNM, they're going to get it. They already have it. So now they could import more. Same thing that they did 2010 to 2015 with respect to the issuance of licenses to sell Forex. Choose their friends and family and give it to them, and we open up the system and change the distribution methodology. But all you defending that. Yeah, Raul, you only want to make the rich richer and you only want to benefit the 1%. But tell me when all you go to the gun shop, when they pass the law and you could go and get your gun, right? Tell me who own the store. Come back in the chat and tell me who it is. Yeah, but don't complain. Don't complain at all. All these ministries, these new ministries that we have, eventually they're going to need office space to operate out of. Who they going to rent from? The man who living on 4th Street in Beetham? Huh? The man who living on Coconut Drive in Mova? That's who they're going and rent from? Huh? Or the person who working on level 4 and the towers, the waterfront towers? That's who they're renting from? All these new ministries? In the words of Peter Minchell, ask a silly question. The same people talking about Paris and this one, and they come in and tell it all about ghost rentals and all of that. Same thing they're going back and do. They had to rent from somebody. Who they're going to rent from? Is the people who own the buildings now? You feel that going to change overnight? Same people. And if it is that they plan to locate the ministry in San Fernando, who they going to rent from? If they decide they're going to, they can't put, it don't make sense to put it in Central because the traffic problem in Central is horrible. Horrible. So when they talk about decentralize and they want to decentralize, and they see they're working on a policy, the work from home policy. And again, whenever that comes into being, understand, again, that was a P&M project, right? And I will find the article next time to read it for you, where the former Minister of Public Admin, Alison West, would have indicated that the policy was completed. It was just some fine-tuning to be done for it to be implemented. So when they come in to see they put in this in place and it is implemented, and all of a sudden the supporters jumping up on social media and talking about, thank God for the UNC and my Prime Minister, because you all didn't know that these things were in train before. But I don't blame all you. You know why? Because the PNM did a piss poor job of telling you all what it is that they were doing. And I make no bones to say that. Same thing I saw last week. The Alexander and I think, I can't remember who else, went to Impacts, CARICOM Impacts, for a demonstration of the online system. You know that annoying document that people complain about when they're coming back into the country, you have to fill out, right? Yes, the immigration form for Trinidad and the steward or the hostess working in the immigration form for Trinidad, they hand it to you and you have to fill out, turn on the light, and they're filling out all this information and all of that, their declaration. So now it's going online. People have been calling that for the longest while. So last week, Alexander and whoever else from the ministry and immigration and so on went to CARICOM Impacts for an online, for a live demonstration as to how it's going to work. That didn't happen in the last 4 weeks, right? These are things that were trained under the PNM. People have been calling for that for the longest while, and the PNM was in the process of putting all of that in place. So when it is implemented and rolled out, I just letting you all know now. So when the supporters of the other party, the government, want to come and praise the minister and praise the prime minister and say what the PNM was doing for the last 10 years and they couldn't do that and this government now come in place. No, all of that was in train over the last couple of years. It is now that it's going to be implemented and rolled out under this current administration. Had the PNM not put God out of their thoughts to call the election on the 28th, and they had waited until later on this year when it was constitutionally due, these things would have been rolled out under the PNM, and therefore one less thing for the UNC to lay claim to. All right? So I just letting you all know, and as these things come up, we will let you all know about it. So when they look into a claim, because remember when they came in 2010, the Grand Bazaar interchange was well underway, right? But it was completed under them, and they wanted to take claim and say they did the Grand Bazaar interchange. Shameless. Same thing with the Aranguez interchange. Started under the Manning administration, finished under them, but they want to claim. Same thing with the 106 schools. Came in and met so many of these early childhood care centers under construction. So many primary schools under construction, but it was completed under them, and they claiming things that were started under the People's National Movement. So I'm letting you all know from now. When these things are implemented in the coming weeks and months, understand, it didn't start under them. It wasn't even part of the manifesto. There was no mention of any of these things on the campaign trail. But they want to, I see the supporters so disingenuous and dishonest. And I have to be careful because I remember now as member of parliament, I'm required to serve everybody regardless of your political affiliation. All right? So that is why I refrain from calling them fully dunce. Okay? Right, I had to do that. I'm not like Anil Roberts, who seems to forget that he's a minister now and can't be doing the things and saying the things that you were saying before, using your government office to come and do these doubles and coffee live and so on to talk a pack of rubbish. Okay? You need to take it down. Take it down a bit. You're a minister now. Carry yourself with a certain level of decorum, as difficult as that may be. So just letting you all know. So let me touch now on this demerit point system. And I know a lot of people happy that it is going to be removed because they find that it was draconian and this and that. So Kamala Prasad-Bissessar spoke about that. And her rationale for getting rid of the merit point system, according to her, is because it is double jeopardy. So you commit the offense, and I stress you commit the offense. If you didn't commit the offense, in other words, if you didn't break the law, you wouldn't get a ticket, you wouldn't get a fixed penalty notice, you would get no demerit points against your license. This demerit point system has been around since what, 2020? I have no demerit points. I have no fixed penalty notice to pay because I obey the traffic laws. And so many other citizens like myself who have never gotten traffic, well, I've gotten ticket, but not in the last 5 years, right? Who haven't gotten any fixed penalty notices and have no demerit points, never had any demerit points because we obey the law. Okay? So she is saying, you commit the offense, they charge you a fine, and in addition to you charging you a fine, they punish you a second time by putting demerit points against your name, right? Or logging it against your license. So you get punished twice for the same crime. She's saying that's double jeopardy. And therefore that is not fair and whatnot, and we need to do away. But we have so many laws on the books in Trinidad and Tobago where if you commit the offense, you are made to, and it states in the law, you would be required to serve a period of jail time and pay a fine. That is double jeopardy, same thing she complaining about. So you have no, as an attorney at law for donkey years, you never had any issue, any problem with all of these laws as a lawmaker, a legislator who contributed to the creation of these laws. Did you, when these laws were being debated, did you complain about double jeopardy? When it is that the demerit system was coming into place, did you complain? Did you lodge a complaint then? Did you come to the parliament and raise it as a motion, or when that was being debated? Did you complain about the double jeopardy? Did you suggest an amendment to the law back then, when you could have filed a motion on Private Members' Day, the last Friday of every month, and you all could come and debate whatever you want? Did you ever come to represent the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago who you're so concerned about now? At any point in time over the last 5 years, even after the system was implemented, did you come to the parliament on any single Private Members' Day? Did you file any motion on the adjournment to discuss and debate this issue of the demerit point system to say that you are against the double jeopardy and you're penalizing the citizens on 2 occasions? No, you didn't. And that was an avenue that was available for you. You didn't care about the citizens for the last 5 years to do that. To come and to impress upon the government that based on your consultation, the citizens had a problem with it and this is the problem that they have and we want to propose something. You never did that. You never did that. Seeing Susie, I hear you, Susie. I can't comment on that, but a word to the wise is sufficient, right? I would say no more on that, Susie, but I hear you. So I'm saying at no point in time did you come, bring a motion to the parliament as you have the facility to do, because we had training on Friday for new members and they told us about all these things and how you could bring motions and stuff and all of that. So I understand the things, the avenues that they had to come to the parliament and represent the same public that they're so concerned about. So for the last 5 years, when she could have made representation and impress upon the minister the need for them to relook this thing. In fact, the PNM was in the process. Rohanson and the last Minister of Works and Transport had announced prior to the election, just before the election, that the government was looking to change. So instead of suspending people's licenses and so on, they would be required to go and do a course, right? So you got to keep your license, but clearly you need a refresher course because like it's been donkey years since you did regulations. So you need a refresher course, and instead of taking your license, we would send you to do these things. But again, that wasn't published, so people vex. So all who happy now that they suspend. Notice they didn't repeal, they suspended the system. That is important. You see, the deception and deceit is what I can't take. You suspended it. You didn't repeal it. You didn't do away with it in its entirety. You suspended it. You know what suspend mean? For those of you who have had your license suspended, you understand what it means. So we put in it to rest for now. But if in putting it to rest, you realize that all you decide to play fast and loose on the road, we will bring it back. So she comes to say there is no evidence to show that this demerit point system would have contributed or assisted in any way in reducing the number of road accidents and road fatalities and so on. Where is the evidence to prove that it didn't? Because if it is under this demerit point system, you had an average of 200 accidents per year. What is to say, where is the evidence that says that this system didn't prevent 500 accidents or 600 accidents? Where is your evidence to support that? And this is what I can't take with them. Because they look at only one side of it to tell me, well, the evidence, there is no documentation, no evidence to show that it helped. There is no evidence to show that it didn't. And if you have evidence to show that it didn't bring it, but you can't bring it because it doesn't exist. So when it is people driving down the road and you obeying the law, and some fool who has no insurance and the license expired, and they don't feel that they need to go and spend $500 or whatever it is to renew their license, and they run into your car, damage your car, broadside you, as I had the experience a few years ago, right? Broadside the whole left side of my car. Come out the car, right? Look at it, you see the damage to his car. I say, well, you know, we gotta go in the police station and make a report because based on the damage done to my car and the damage done to your car, clearly this is settling outside of the insurance. So we need to go through the insurance. So let me see your documents. All right, I'm going in the car to get it. He walked back to his car to get his documents. I opened my car out to open my glove compartment to get mine. I said, dip, I come up in time to see my boy bidding a hasty retreat. Bust it and go and hit and run. Clearly, no insurance, right? None. Fortunately for me, I didn't have to go through that hassle because my company, my insurance is my company, right? So they took care of me and I was good. But not everybody is going to have that experience. In fact, I know somebody personally right now who's going through that stress, right? Man reversed into the guy, new car, and up to now. Man can't get information as to which insurance company the offending party is with. So he going through stress, need his car to fix, get the quotation and everything, the invoice and whatnot and stuff, saying it's going to cost $20-something thousand to fix. And it's headache because the person in the offending party not answering their phone, the car gets onto them. They send somebody else to the police station to make a report, and when the police realize that the person who making the report is not the person who was involved in the accident, that was the end of that. So it's a whole set of bacchanal taking place. There are people out there who have no business being on the road. No business being on the road whatsoever. But under the old system, you commit the offense, you pay a fine. And that's it. I got to pay the fine, yes, me care. I'm in a hurry, I'm running late, I'm going on the bus route. If they catch me, well, all right, I'll pay the fine. But when it is that you know, going on the bus route, carries a fine, $2,000, you say I got to pay it. You're saying that you pay it, but you know when you get the ticket, you just go and chuck it in your glove compartment and you go in and stay there until that kingdom come. Until 2-3 years down the road, one morning you hear on your door, 2 van load of police, heavily armed police pull up with a warrant to carry you down because you didn't pay the ticket. I know people that did happen too. Yeah, that is how it is goes. So those of you who figure you're going to pay the ticket and it just goes away, no. You might have avoided that under the demerit point system because there are penalties to be had. Right? So rather than they come as a big bully policeman come and embarrass you on 5 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning to carry you down in the area because you have an outstanding ticket. They have resources in terms of we could impact your insurance and all of these different things. But do away with that system now. We go back to, so now we're going back to what? Written tickets? 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. That's what we're going back to, right? There I go. Right, hold on. Give me a license. They're going to write up a ticket and hand you. So we go back, we spend a certain money to put the system in place. We have these handheld devices where they can just punch in thing, they go in the system, they check, they see, they pull up, they see if it is that you have any, if you have a history, if you have any demerit points against you and so on. And they try to punch in thing, right? They roll out the ticket and they hand it to you. So we do away with all of that because remember these things were configured for that demerit point system, which is now suspended. So you have to do away with all of. So all the millions that were spent for this system, all the UNC supporters who like to talk about waste money and waste money and waste money. You have no concern about the millions that were spent to implement this system that your government is now going to throw down the drain to go back to what? Printing book, right? Pen and paper. We're going back to that, right? Going back to that. You know what's I always say all the problem? Plenty of you all who like to talk this rubbish and supporting this foolishness because all they never travel and don't understand how it works. We want to be first world, you know. Yeah, we want to be first world, but only endorsing us at our third world and fourth world practices. So we came of age where we have the handheld devices now where the police could go and sit down and they can go on the computer and type up and thing and pull up information on you and see, all right, right, well, let's think, whatever. Now, right, yeah, pull out the book. Give me a license, they take, they write it up and then they come back and they hand you and okay. Then they hand it and that's it. We go back to that. All the millions, as I said, that was spent for the system going on the drain. Only happy with that. But just remember, it's suspended. Wasn't repealed. Okay? So when all they play mad on the road, it is there for them to simply say, we left the suspension and we bring back the system because we realize some of them have no behavior, no decorum on the road. Plenty earlier. Going on the bus route Friday morning. Well, I was running late. I'm a training starting at 9 o'clock. Well, as a member of Parliament, I now have the privilege to use the bus route, even though they didn't give me a pass yet. But it doesn't matter. The pass is simply a formality, right? As once you become a member of Parliament, you automatically authorized to use the PBR. So, sometimes I forget, right? Most times I forget. So I remembered on this morning. So I said, let me go down. Counted not one, but 2 roadblocks on the bus route. As I'm approaching, just as I passed Mausika Road, they were just after Mausika. I see big commotion. Vehicle coming up and the police car come up and loud siren and all kind of thing, and they pull in front of the car, they jump on and pull out the gun and all kind of. I said, what's going on here, boy? There's just some woman who decided to take the bus route that morning. She saw the roadblock, and she decided to make a U-turn on the bus route to head back up, because she didn't want to take that $2,000 fine and not 6 demerit points. You don't do that. The police looking in that direction. They must see when you turn around. They don't know if it is that you are some bandit or some criminal who trying to evade the police. So what they're going to do? Obviously, they take off after you and they stop you. So you had an embarrassment now. Pull you on the side, police car pull in front of you and pull out gun and all kind of thing on you because you're trying to get away. You had no business. You have no authorization. Take your $2,000 fine. Well, you don't have no 6 demerit points anymore. But she looked like she have a little paper, so she'll go and pay the $2,000 and that's that. Even when you have paper, you still have a kid who want to pay it, but she will have to pay it. But you see, she's likely to do it again. Once the demerit system is out of the way. That $2,000, okay. Especially if you have money. Whoosh, big deal. But when you know, first time it happened, $2,000, which I didn't mind paying, but it hit me 6 demerit points. If it happened again, 12 demerit points, I lost my license. You will think twice about going on the bus route. Because even if you could pay the fine and you don't mind paying the fine, when you study, you could lose your license because there's a next 6 demerit points in your waist. That's it. You ain't going back on that bus route again. But this lady, with the demerit point system suspended, I gotta take a chance. How many accidents have we seen within recent times on the priority bus route? And more often than not, the offending party did not have authorization to be on the bus route. And it resulted in the loss of life, right? People lost their life because somebody was not supposed to be on the bus, so decided to take a chance because if they catch me, I go pay a fine. I don't mind paying the fine. So there is reason why there was double jeopardy, because for a lot of people, the fine is nothing to pay. They don't mind paying that. But the threat of losing your license because of the number of demerit points that you could get for committing that offense is what would be the deterrent for people to not commit the offense and not break the law. But populist strategies, that's how the UNC operates. So what are we going to do? Do I have a demerit system? I just bring back the only paying one penalty, pay the fine. Okay. So you don't have insurance? Big deal. If they catch me, I'll go pay the fine. My license expire, they catch me, I go pay the fine. That's it. When you don't know you ain't paying no blasted fine, you're going to put that. Some of them will be so brave and so brazen. They want to come on social media and do a video and show you, look how much tickets I have, me paying nothing. They put it there. They put it there. But when the merit points and you lost your license, that's a different story. Different story. So all of them who vex you know the tint is not legal. What you had to hide. You want to be running the outside woman and you're afraid somebody see. But it's for your own safety. If somebody kidnap you and they're in your car, somebody could see if something happened, you could signal something to somebody outside for assistance. It's not because the police, they do that because they're against that tint. It is for your own safety. You're speeding, going on the road, you know the speeding limit, but you want to exceed. 5 people, was it 4 or 5 people that died just last week, including a young child, a 9-year-old by Claxton Bay because the driver was speeding. If he was maintaining the legal limit or under it, today, all of those lives would have been here. Instead, the family making preparation for 4 or 5 funerals. 4 funerals, I think, 4. I think the guy was in the front seat in critical condition. So aside from the loss of life and having to deal with the tragedy and the heartache of losing loved ones, you now have to shoulder the burden of this financial headache of finding money for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 funerals. What is the impact and the toll that's going to take on the finances of these families after the funeral? What will happen? I just saying. That's just my position. But who am I? Right? So, Tropical Trump, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, issuing warnings to Venezuela. Don't play mad. Otherwise, the Trinidad Coast Guard will deal with all you. With what? The little dinghies that they'll be driving, rolling in? Really? You can't be serious. The OPVs? Oh, shucks. So, we don't have OPVs, I forget. Right. We had. We don't have OPVs anymore. So, what we have is a little dinghy, man. Yeah. You want to know what's the strength of our military assets? Go to the military parade on the 31st of August. Go to the Queen's Park Savannah and take a look. Take a look and see what we have as compared to what Venezuela has. But you see, when you're trying to make local, regional, and international headlines and you want to get Donald Trump's attention, you say these things. Mrs. Prasad Bisesa again needs to remember, you are no longer the opposition leader. You are now the prime minister. You have power. Your words have power. This is not like when you were the leader of the opposition, you can make a reckless statement like that, nobody will take you on because you're the leader of the opposition, you have no power. You can see where you just, it's just all rhetoric, she just running she mouth. But you can't do nothing because you're in opposition. So on the other side now, you are the prime minister. You have the power to do these things. So when you say these things now, it is taken seriously. It is taken seriously. So all they're doing is looking for distractions because you ain't paying the 10%. Crime continues unabated. You have no solution. Only talking about stand your ground and stand your ground and stand your ground. Right? But in terms of things, short-term things that you should have had as part of your strategy to implement immediately that could treat with the issue prior to these other long-term strategies. You ain't had none. So we ain't talking about crime. We ain't about crime. Cost of living. All of us talking about the cost of living so high, and then I go in the grocery and I go in the market and everything so high and the price so high. We ain't talking them thing again. So all we hearing about is bus route pass, 645 bus route pass that the PNM issue. We hear about who had state housing. We hearing about ghost rentals. We hearing about CPEP and how much contract the PNM renew just before the election for the people and whatnot. All always complaining the PNM don't do nothing for their own. Well, they do something for their own and all they vex. What's the issue? And all they had a problem with them not doing anything for their own. Well, they did something for their own. Relax. But all they're complaining. That are all these things that people didn't vote on. Well, you're hearing plenty about that. And the issues that you voted on, you're not hearing nothing. So they need to create distractions. Right? To keep your mind away from. And so we are doing a protest because they're reading the comments on social media and people complaining how long it's going to take. When we give it 10%, what's going on? No discussions about that. So every week, Tropical Trump wants to come and say something. So last week, she decided to put Maduro in the place and let him know, hey, don't play mad. I'm instructing the Coast Guard, as if she could instruct the Coast Guard. I didn't know now the Prime Minister is the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Force or the Armed Forces, apparently. So she's putting the Coast Guard on alert to use deadly force on any unidentified vessels, Venezuelan vessels in Trinidad waters. Use deadly force. Unidentified. What to do? Load up the Matic. Cock it back. Knock it on them. Knock it again. Knock it again. Empty the clip. Anytime you see an unidentified vessel, Venezuelan vessel, use deadly force. Hypocrisy. The last time the Coast Guard did that, use deadly force on an unidentified Venezuelan vessel. All remember what happened? A young child died. Yes. Shot in the head. He died. And this same woman who today telling the Coast Guard use deadly force on any unidentified Venezuelan vessel was the first and only person to jump out herself to label the Coast Guard officers as murderers because they used deadly force on an unidentified Venezuelan vessel and kill a child. But you're coming now today to tell them to do the same thing. So is it that you're endorsing murder now? Are you retracting what you said back then so they're no longer murderers? Because it's the same action, the same thing that they did. You had a problem with it then, but now you're coming to tell them to do the same thing. So are they not murderers? So if they do that, it's not murder. You stand your ground. Stand your ground. Right? Yeah. Stand your ground. The hypocrisy of it. But her supporters just forget them things. And always saying, yeah, grow some balls and grow some testicles, and she have breasticular fortitude and all of that. She had to stand up to Maduro. Really? But when Dr. Rowley stood up to Trump, well, he had an issue with that. But, yeah, he feel, you know what Trump could do and all of that, and what? He did not testicular fortitude when he did that. He did not testicular fortitude when they wanted to demand the same thing for him to support Juan Guaido. And when he said, whoever answered the phone at Miraflores when I called, that is who I recognize as president. And when he made that statement, which ran contrary to what the U.S. policy was at the time, because Donald Trump recognized Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela, Dr. Rowley said, I'm not going through that. And he made the point. Yes, we may be small in size, but we ain't taking no bullying. We are a sovereign nation, and this is the policy of the government. We remain in neutral, right? We remain in neutral. We're not siding with nobody. But based on diplomacy, Nicolas Maduro is the man sitting down in Miraflores. That is the man who answered the phone. He is the man, he's the president. As far as we're concerned, that is who we're dealing with. If tomorrow he is removed and Juan Guaido is sitting in Miraflores and he answers the phone, that is who we will deal with. But we're not taking no sides. Even if Mr. Trump wants us to. These same hypocritical UNC supporters say all kind of thing about Dr. Rowley. Oh, thing who he feel he is, and thing, and you want to buff up Trump and you want to buff up America and who is this and that and all of that foolishness. They didn't see that as testicular fortitude. But Kamala coming now to issue threats. Just imagine. Just imagine. Guyana, which faced a greater threat of military incursion from Venezuela than Trinidad and Tobago. Not once did you ever hear Irfan Ali put out a statement or hear him say, talk about warning Venezuela that if the thing and the Coast Guard and who not and the army in Guyana will do this and do that. And he faced a greater threat. But Miss Lady, who trying to get the attention of her mentor, and who figured that if we get in conflict with Venezuela, that somehow Donald is going to send a few warships to come this way and deal with Mr. Maduro. You all feel Maduro is a stupid man? The man not notice, you know, Venezuela, as far as I know, has no history of any military incursion in any country. So that when she hears the minister make a statement to the effect that wherever the gangs are, they're going to go after them, and she interprets that to mean that they're going to send the military to come here to get the gangs. They said, wherever the gangs are, we are going to go after them. They never said if the gangs are in Trinidad. So if it is, their intelligence tells them that the gangs are in Barbados. Does that mean that they're going to invade Barbados? So should Mia Motley make a statement? Because they didn't identify any country. They said wherever the gangs are. So therefore, every single CARICOM leader should take that as a threat of military incursion by Venezuela. Because Venezuelans didn't only come to Trinidad. In fact, it have over 100,000 of them. The Guyanese authorities just said it's over 100,000 Venezuelans in Guyana. So the likelihood is that the gangs may more likely be in Guyana than here. Not saying that they're not here, but they're more likely to be in Guyana. So does that mean that Irfan Ali should take the same approach as Prasad Bisesa and issue a statement? Should Ralph Gonzalez do that? There are Venezuelans in Jamaica too. Should Andrew Holness interpret that to mean that if it is the gangs, the Venezuelan intelligence says that the gangs are in his country, that they're going to send military units to his country to get the gangs? But it's only in this country that all your leader, all your prime minister will form such a stupid, asinine interpretation. Because when the people said we will go, and that's what they said, wherever the gangs are, we will go after them. What is the first recourse to go after them? Diplomacy. We have information. We have an embassy in Trinidad. So what should we do? If we have information that gangs are operating in Trinidad that pose a threat to Venezuela and so on, we will contact the authorities in Trinidad and we will have a sit down. We will work with the intelligence agencies in Trinidad. Our intelligence agencies will work with the intelligence agencies in Trinidad as it's supposed to be. We will exchange information. We will provide them with the information that we have, that our intelligence tells us that there are persons who are operating in your country who serve in certain gangs and who are a threat. We would like to assist you, even if that assistance may simply be us providing you with the information, and then you would organize with your law enforcement to go after these people. But we are working with you to go after them. We don't need to come into your country to go after them ourselves. Because if they're in Toco, if they're in Cedros, if they're in San Fernando, we don't know where they are. So we just can't run into your country and say we go in every house with big gun to see where these people are. We will share our intelligence with your intelligence people, and we could coordinate efforts to see what you have, because maybe you have similar information. Maybe we have the one piece of the puzzle that you might be missing. So when we meet and we discuss and we share information, we could coordinate. We sending you the information that we have. If it is that you know that you have information and these people that have not gone across to Venezuela, you share the information with us so we know how to operate. And we work together to go after the gangs wherever they are. She is the prime minister. She is an attorney at law, but she didn't interpret that. She interpreted that to mean wherever the gangs are, we're going to send our people. So if it is our intelligence tells us that the gangs are operating in the United States, because, remember, Marco Rubio had a discussion with former Prime Minister Stuart Young about a gang called Tren de Agua, and was asking Stuart Young for assistance in working with US authorities who have all of the resources to assist in neutralizing the Tren de Agua gang. So if Mr. Maduro has information that the gang is operating in the United States, and as the minister said, wherever the gangs are, we will go after them. Should Donald Trump assume or interpret that statement to mean that if the gangs are in the United States of America, that Mr. Maduro is going to send mercenaries or security personnel from Venezuela to invade the United States of America to get the gangs, if that is where they are? But no, she's the only one who interpreted that way, because she's looking to start something, but because she probably believes that Mr. Trump needs a precursor to invade Venezuela, and he ain't getting one. So let me help him to get one. So let me now antagonize Mr. Maduro to start something that I can't finish. But my mentor, Donald, is going to be happy to assist, send assistance for us, and use it to invade. But let us not forget, Donald Trump and Nicolas Maduro have a friend in common. They have a mutual acquaintance in the person of one Vladimir Putin, okay, who is himself right now involved in a war, but who just a couple of weeks ago met with Mr. Maduro, and they signed an agreement to develop gas resources in Venezuela. Okay? So if tropical Trump figure that she will choke fire and get Mr. Maduro upset for him to do something, Maduro is not a stupid man. The other day when it is that they had the military, the planes and whatnot was flying over the Essequibo and stuff, and Guyana was, felt that it was a violation of the airspace and so on, and then Mr. Ali went to Washington and had a discussion and so on and whatnot, and then when he come back and then it was like, what are you doing? Where's that one? All that I call for, that's not necessary. You know what we just conducting our routine trading exercises, and you decide you figure and play run up the road. But relax yourself, now we're not on all here. That's what it was. But she want to flex muscle, and she has a knack for doubling down. But you see, Mrs. Pasabi says is accustomed to this inflammatory rhetoric and liking to stoke things. And she doesn't think as if diplomacy is not in her vocabulary, it is not in her lexicon. In 2015, when she was opening the Piaco police station as prime minister, in her speech, she said, gave instructions to the police, release the dogs of war, give no quarter. So when all you go in after the criminal, shoot first and ask questions later. That's basically what she said. Don't care whether they have gone, or whatever it is, load up the matic. Knock it on them and knock it again. So this is not new. Since 2015, she pushing that. And now she has come to tell the Coast Guard to do the very thing that she was against before and looking for Bacchanal. When diplomacy is the first course, you bypass the Venezuelan embassy, and I don't know if it is because the Venezuelan embassy opposite Balize House. She figure, well, now we don't want to deal with Balize House right away. We have listening devices. No, we don't. We have none. So you could go inside and all you could talk with the Venezuelan ambassador. If you want to go there, tell him, you summon him to come to you and all you talk. That is the first course of action to take. Not to come with inflammatory rhetoric and threatening anything. You put in these Coast Guard men, you figure them really want to do that? So when the fishermen know, when Venezuela here, well, oh, that's how it is. Well, all right. Well, when Trinidadian fishermen come, if Maduro were to issue similar instructions to his Guardia de Nacional, any unidentified vessel from Trinidad use deadly force. Don't bother to wait whether it's fisherman or not. Boss bullet in their backside. Stand your ground. Load up the matic. Right? Pump them full of lead. And we go deal with the consequences after. So your inflammatory rhetoric is now putting our fishermen's lives at risk. Sometimes these men end up adrift. Right? Suppose they go out there now and they end up being victims of a robbery, piracy. Pirates come and take their engines and leave them adrift, and they end up drifting into Venezuelan waters. And the Guardian as well, the president say, the Prime Minister Trinidad and Tobago help people. If they see any unidentified vessels from Venezuela, bust bullet, we doing the same thing. Look at unidentified vessel, just bust bullet. People lost their lives because you want to play powerful, stupid, according to Dr. Rowley. If you're vexed, that's your business. Because I don't mind telling you that in the Parliament too. And when the opportunity presents itself, I probably will. That's what you call powerful, stupid. So all we want to talk about, share breast to killer fortitude, all kind of thing, and that's what we need, a strong leader and so on. Miss me with that BS. Miss me with that BS. In fact, you should be happy if there are Venezuelan gangs operating in this country that Venezuela wants to go after them, rather than say, well, that's not a problem. They in Trinidad, let Trinidad deal with that. So if they're killing people in Trinidad and chopping off people's head and all kind of thing, and nothing to do with we have intelligence, but hey, since their leader decides that she wants to label me a narco trafficker and continue her foolishness of antagonizing, well, okay, we have intelligence that could help them to deal with that. But since that is the approach that their government wants to take, well, no problem. Well, yeah, let them deal with that. Those said no intelligence, we have no diplomacy with them, no diplomatic chance. But let me just remind the supporters of the UNC. Let me remind all, yeah? 1st of May, 2025. Where is it? Venezuela congratulates Kamala Persad-Bissessar. In a statement issued by its foreign ministry yesterday, the Venezuelan government celebrated the victory of the UNC and congratulated Prime Minister-elect Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Venezuela's Foreign Affairs Minister Ivan Gil, who posted the statement on his Instagram page, recalled that during her previous term from 2010 to 2015, Persad-Bissessar and the Venezuelan government had consolidated a strategic relationship based on mutual respect and cooperation in key areas such as security, the economy, and regional integration. Let me repeat that. Venezuela's Foreign Minister Ivan Gil, who posted the statement on his Instagram page, so he was proud to do that, recalled that during her previous term, 2010 to 15, Persad-Bissessar and the Venezuelan government had consolidated a strategic relationship based on mutual respect and cooperation in key areas such as security, the economy, and regional integration. Our nations have built a solid alliance based on Caribbean brotherhood and a shared interest in the development of our peoples, the Venezuelan government stated. This is just last month. While emphasizing its full willingness to strengthen these ties, especially in energy projects that both nations could benefit from. The Venezuelan government also reiterated its commitment to continuing joint projects, especially in the area of energy security, and assured that it will maintain a reliable gas supply to TNT, which will contribute to the sustainable economic growth of TNT and the Caribbean region. noting that Venezuela and TNT share historical, geographic, and cultural ties that unite both in the heart of the Caribbean. The Bolivarian government said both countries must be aware of the challenges facing the region. What challenges? I wonder if it's the issue of these gangs. The statement continued, we affirm our willingness to advance a common cooperation agenda that responds to the aspirations of our peoples and promotes peace. Promotes peace, not war, not no incursion, promotes peace, development, and the sovereignty of our nations. Let me repeat that for the benefit of the UNC supporters and all your leader, the irresponsible leader. The statement continued, we affirm our willingness to advance a common cooperation agenda that responds to the aspirations of our peoples and promotes peace, development, and the sovereignty of our nations. Does that sound like a government that wants to send troops to Trinidad to invade and to impose on our sovereignty? When they put out a whole statement that was unsolicited just a month ago, congratulating the same woman and stressing this respect for the sovereignty of nations. Apparently, she didn't read this when they put it out. They didn't send it for her. Venezuela also hopes bilateral cooperation will deepen, consolidating both nations as strategic partners in the region. This statement from the Nicolas Maduro administration comes against the backdrop of a failed attempt to cement energy agreements in recent years. On April 8th, the US government revoked the license, blah, 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 and whatnot. That was the same Venezuelan government, same foreign minister, talking about sovereignty of nations, promoting peace and development. So we have to believe that in the space of 1 month, that changed. That changed in 1 month. That could probably change based on her inflammatory rhetoric. Because she's trying to audition for Donald Trump. Probably hoping that Trump will extend to her an invitation to the White House, because she always seeing the Prime Minister of here and the Prime Minister of there and the Prime Minister of everywhere sit down in the White House, sitting down in the Oval Office in front of the big beautiful fireplace with Mr. Trump, and she wants to be there. You know, she always sit down watching Fox News and saying, wow, boy, I wish that could have been me. How I wish that could have been me. I always watching all these years, all these prime ministers. How come they never invite you? I wonder, boy, that would be a feather in my cap, you know. I could say I sit down in the Oval Office with Trump, and Rowley never do that. Yeah, boy. What I could do to get that, boy? How I could get Donald Trump attention? I know. Let me start a bacchanal. Let me start a bacchanal with his perceived enemy, Nicolas Maduro. The same Nicolas Maduro who in 2018, when she was extolling and talking about she supporting Juan Guaido as the president, Donald Trump, having met Juan Guaido, said, yeah, he's all right guy. Not really impressive. You know, I prefer, you know, because Mr. Guaido apparently went and he was, you know, basically prepared to kiss Mr. Trump's backside. Trump don't really like people like that too much. He prefers strong men because it makes him look stronger. Could stand toe to toe. If as soon as you're reaching the White House, as soon as you're outside the Oval Office, you're going down on your knees and you're coming in and you're crawling on your knees, you're ready to kiss the ring and offer obeisance. Here with that. He like when you see that handshake and you say you like to twist your hand so and all kind of thing, and the firm handshake, that's what he want. He don't like these jokers. He said in 2018, you know, he kinda admire Nicolas Maduro. He said that. Because Maduro ain't taking no choppedness from he. Maduro already jump on a plane and he go by Vladimir. Cause Trump jealous. So wait now. So you meet with Maduro last week. Where's that one, man? I thought me and you, I thought we good. I was me and you riding partner, but I put tariffs on everybody except you. Where's that one? Where's that? I jealous. I never come to the Kremlin. I never sit down with you in the Kremlin and Maduro doing that. Yo, look how you're making me. I'm supposed to be the leader of the free world, the most powerful man in the world, and I never come and sit down with you in the Kremlin, and you have Maduro all up inside there, by Vladimir. Don't play that, don't play it. I don't know. See, I rest at 2% tariff on you. Yes, 2%. To test, man. 2%. So Miss Lady, like, she looking for an invitation. Yeah, looking for an invitation to head up to the White House. So she can boast about it. Take pictures and thing now. Let's let her know you can't go in the White House, you can't go in the Oval Office in a duster coat, slippers, and hairnet. Eh? You need to know, like, yeah. Can't do them thing to be properly dressed and so on. We know you want to be on Fox News. Relax now. I saw somebody put out a map of a UNC supporter post up a map of Trinidad showing all the areas in yellow, what in red, and what in blue. And basically trying to make the point, Trinidad is UNC country, right? Because look, the population voted for Sabi Sasa had the support and so on. And it seems somebody who is opposed to the UNC responded and said, yes, send that map to Maduro so he know the exact areas where to bomb, right? So tell him all the areas in yellow, that's where his target is. The areas in red and blue, ease us up, right? So we not about our life. We're not supporting that. So this is the map. This is where you need to target. The areas in yellow. Forget the red and blue. Yeah. We are no part of that. Okay? We're not supporting her and social foolishness. So you deal with that, Nicholas. Okay? Right. Yeah. But the amount of foolishness that I see the supporters of that yellow party willing to support, it's amazing. And if the PNM had done these things, it would have been a totally different story. But this woman could do anything and they're defending it. That's what you call cult of personality. That's why I say UNC supporters are some of the most dangerous citizens in this country. Most dangerous. I'm looking at a video that TV6 did, interviewing people down in Citrus and so on. Some of the fishermen whose lives would be at risk should there be any sort of incident. And a woman saying, well, I agree with what she's saying, I support she with that one, but I'm concerned about the fishermen and thing because you're supporting what she's doing. You're admitting that it's going to put the lives of fishermen in danger, but you're still supporting it because you're UNC and you're supporting her. You don't have a mind of your own to think and say, well, okay, this is making sense. No, this isn't. So your livelihood is at risk. Your own life is at risk. And the person who put it at risk and the policy and the position that she is taking and put it at risk, you're supporting her because that's your prime minister. That's the leader of the party that you support. And you're going with anything that she says, even if it means that it could risk your life, the life of your family, and your ability to pay your bills. And these people have the right to vote. These people voted. So you understand the level of ignorance that some of these people went into the polling booth with? As I say, you could do what Kamala could do what she wants, say what she wants, and they will still support her. They're still coming out in numbers. Let's see. Caribbean Soul is saying we are waiting for Acting Commissioner Benjamin to release the report to the PNM ministers, human traffickers. What? Caribbean Soul. I know all that I've said this morning probably rattle your cage because you can't come here and challenge it with any argument of substance. Apparently, you missed the memo, the report, the last time that was sent by the US State Department identified UNC people in the human trafficking. All right? The man who currently sits as the Minister of Agriculture, Caribbean Soul, is who was identified. Two of his former colleagues who were cabinet ministers. One of them indicated that an internal investigation was done between 2010 to 2015 into allegations of the very same thing against this individual, and the findings were concerning, and nothing was done. We've established that this individual is under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution. We had one of his former colleagues who he replaced as the member for Couva North on social media, on Facebook, engaging a fella by the name of Ronald Bola. She said she couldn't support him and work with him in the campaign because of evidence of human trafficking, prostitution, and wrongdoing when he was serving on certain boards between 2010 to 2015. She said that, not me. That was already established. When the State Department report spoke to this issue about government officials involved in human trafficking and prostitution, and there was the back and forth over who government meant what the term government official meant. And Prasad Bisesa was saying, I nothing government, we nothing government, who is the government? Then Ambassador Candace Bond had to come out and school us. Imagine that. Big lawyers and so on, and couldn't understand. And she's saying, in the United States, when we refer to government officials, we focus the term government there references the legislature, the executive is everybody. You see what we call the parliament? There are three branches of government, Caribbean soul. The executive, which is the cabinet, the legislature, which is the parliament, and then the judiciary. So that when they made reference to government officials, high government officials, they were referring to the parliament. Candace Bond came out and said that. And therefore, it incorporated, when we talk about the parliament, it incorporates PNM, UNC. Hence the reason it captured that individual. Where all of this come from? You see, all they're looking for all kind of desperate distractions rather than accepting the facts. And that is what is wrong. And that's what I say, you all are some of the most dangerous people in this country. Because when is your party in power, they're willing to support nonsense. But you see, the PNM showed you all on April 28th that they are not prepared. Once they perceive nonsense, even if it is based on UNC propaganda, they are willing to take action. They will not vote. They will not support. They will withhold their vote. And even if it means the other side has to get in, they don't care. They're not voting. All you ain't care about that. Or they're still going out and vote for them anyway, and then will come on social media and try to defend foolishness with nonsense. Not about countries, only about party for you all. But don't worry. I hope when Benjamin makes the release and you see the names in it that you will come back here and talk about it. But no, that's what you always do. Put to be and we ain't want to talk about that again. Now we're not interested in that. Yeah, because there's all get caught up in it. So we're not interested in that. All we hear about the Sabga report about child molestation and all that, or let's say who a pedophile ring in the PNM and all kind of thing. What's going on with that? It's been 5 weeks there in office. We heard nothing about that. The Tole was jamming the PNM to put things in place to implement. When we hear about that, and Kamala love children so much, what's going on with that? What's going on with the 3.3 billion or the 3 billion or the 2.6 billion at all? Let's say in good teeth. 5 weeks now they're in office. 5 weeks now Dave Tanku sit down in the office of the Minister of Finance. 5 weeks. He can't get information on that yet. We get information about all kind of things about who had bus route pass. They put out a list of name and shame, calling out PNM people as if it had no UNC people on that list. That, but giving us a list of names of PNM people who had bus route pass, councillors and who ideally should have access to it. Right? This is the foolishness. We hear about how much contract and how much contract it had out and for CPEP and all this kind of stupidness. What's going on with the 2.6 billion? That is the first thing they should have dealt with, because you all were yapping about that constantly. That's one of the things that you all voted on. Imbud thief 2.6 billion, and the Privy Council said to investigate Imbud because he thief 2.6 billion. 5 weeks now, not one word. It ain't taken much. Tanku has been in charge. All he had to do is just say, let me get the file and that. What's going on with that? And the thief, I need to let the nation know that he thief it. 5 weeks now. Let's stop talk about that. A partner of mine, every time you see a post on Facebook about the PNM, first thing he commented about, we're going over the 3.6 billion. We're going over the 2.6 billion. Every minute. All of a sudden, since April 28th, he stopped post about that. Right? Only talking about how Rowley Nazi and Rowley this and Rowley that. Rowley gone. How are you asking Dave Tanku? And make no bones about it. The first opportunity that I get in that parliament, I am going to pose the question to Mr. Tanku as to whether or not the minister could tell this house if that matter with the 2.6 billion was settled and whether or not it was accounting error or any money was stolen. And let him, you will hear it from his mouth in the parliament. I will make him tell you. So all you who was pushing that, I will pose the question to him and let him put it on Hansard that no money was stolen and that it was an accounting error. And let me see what all you will do now. And Imbud should be investigated. Wait and see. They keep delaying and dragging, no problem. Parliament has to go on recess the first week in July. But we have media review coming up. But I'm telling you, the first opportunity I get, I am going to file that question for Tanku to answer, for the public to hear, so they can see how deceitful they were. And just before I wrap up, I was talking about deceitful. And the training on Friday, right? They tell us a lot of stuff. They told us about, again, this whole issue of filing questions, filing motions, urgent and important matters. You know, something happened and you want to represent. And when the issue about, you know, when they want to raise a matter of urgent importance and definite and whatever. And when question time came, I asked the clerk of the house, I said, but many times when the then opposition UNC would raise these matters of urgent importance and so on, and they feel it's of national importance, the speaker would say, I am not satisfied that this matter was raised under the correct standing order. The member could bring it back under the correct standing order, right? And what would happen, the UNC would then say that the speaker was biased and that she didn't, and that the government didn't want to discuss this and so on. And so I said to him, so he said, yes, that is what happened. I said, but based on what you all have told us so far for this morning, right, that whenever a member files a question, you all would go through the question to make sure that the wording is okay, it is filed properly, that it is an acceptable question before it is that you seek approval for the question and so on. So when these members file these motions of urgent importance and so on, can't you all just review it and let them know, well, okay, you file it under the wrong standing order and therefore the speaker is not going to approve it. So file it under this standing order. You know what he told me? He said we used to do that. When they filed the motion and we know we would go through it, we would tell them. They would be told it's under the wrong standing order. But they would still bring it under the incorrect standing order, deliberately, knowing full well that the speaker would reject it. And then they could run outside and tell them blind supporters, the minions, the sycophants, that they raised this issue about flooding or they raised this issue about whatever it is. And the speaker shoot it down because the speaker said it wasn't important and it wasn't urgent and the speaker biased. And then you see all of the minions running on social media and cussing the speaker and oh, the speaker this and the speaker that. And I said, but that is abuse of the parliament. They said, no, it's political strategy. They knew exactly what they were doing. And that was the intent. They weren't interested in debating these matters. They weren't interested in bringing these matters because they figure it's something that should be spoken about. They did it and they brought it deliberately under the wrong standing order, knowing full well the speaker would shoot it down. And then they could run outside and say the speaker bias and they're trying to help the population and they're looking to raise issues of national importance and the government and the speaker don't want to discuss it. And what we was doing, you all know I used to keep telling you all that all the time. I used to say, but if this is so important to the UNC and the speaker shoot it down, why you all then bring it back under the correct standing order as the speaker suggested? Or why didn't you use private members' day when you could discuss what you want? You don't need no permission from the speaker. And if you think this thing is so important, bring it on private members' day and all you could debate it a whole day. That is, you all have that privilege. How come they never did that? You know why? Because there was never any intention to debate it. It was an intention to deceive and create the narrative that the speaker was biased and the government didn't care about the population. They don't want to debate and all of that. Meanwhile, we getting licks for it. And the people who know better, when we should have been putting this information out there, yeah, we busy, we have time for that. We have time for that because the population know the UNC is a set of crooks and a set of thief and they will never put them back. Really? Little did we know that the UNC did not need an overwhelming number of persons to vote for them. All they needed was for an overwhelming number of persons who normally support the PNM to not vote. To not vote. Just remember that the UNC did not win the election because there was a groundswell of persons who came out to vote for them and who bought into their rhetoric and who bought into their narrative about cost of living and the crime and home invasion and all of this and people suffering. People didn't come out and vote in numbers because of that. They didn't win. They won because of mistakes that the PNM made, right? And they failed to address these issues with their supporters, not understanding clearly how their supporters operate, probably thinking that PNM supporters, like UNC supporters, would take any nonsense and accept it and still come out and vote. We didn't learn from 2010. And sometimes for the littlest of things, PNM people will punish you. Only PNM could mash up PNM. So when they didn't get a candidate of choice in certain constituencies in 2010, they said, we are voting, they vote, and the UNC came and they won. Right? They bought into the foolishness, the rhetoric about Manning thief and Koldahat thief and Utararao thief and who thief and Manning built church in Guanapo for his spiritual advisor and all kind of thing. They bought into that foolishness. And what did they do? We have voted. Some of them went and voted for the UNC. In this instance, there are a few of them. You know, it occurred to me last night. I told you all about when I was campaigning. I came upon a guy in Malabar, phase 4, I think it was, somewhere there. A stroke victim, right? Suffered a stroke. The man came out, came by his house, introduced myself and stuff. And he started telling me about this 2.6 billion. And where the 2.6 billion gone and where the missing money. I said, so there's no money missing. And he wanted to go down that road with me. I realized that the man had a stroke and working up yourself could result in you getting a second one, and I don't want to be responsible for that. So I'm not continuing this conversation, especially since I'm trying to explain to you, no money missing, why no money is missing, what the issue is. But you keep going down a road, you insist money missing and the Auditor General and all that kind of thing and the Privy Council and stuff. I decided I'm not continuing that conversation. I said, sir, have a nice day, and I walked off. He was, please, I ain't done with you yet, I ain't done with you yet. I said, all that thing. You ain't done with me, I done with you. Right? Because I will not be responsible for you collapsing here. And then they say the MP or the candidate come, the PNM candidate come and rile up the man and cause the man to get an next stroke. And right? When I was doing my victory motorcade, or my thank you motorcade the other day, passed in front of his house again. He was out on the porch with his son. We passing and thing, and right? So I wave, and he to my dismissive thing, so and the son comes outside and he's like, yellow is the code, you know, and it's kind of okay, no problem. I wonder how that gentleman is feeling today. 5 weeks later, you probably went and based your vote on $2.6 billion missing. Embo thief. Privy Council say for Embo to be investigated. 5 weeks later, you have no information, nothing. Not one word about him missing 2.6 billion, 3.3, 3.6, whatever figure they want to call. Not one word about it. And the supporters ain't calling for information again. Now I would think, with all the things that tell us if money was stolen, by now we would have heard about it, right? Because they're looking for things to say the last administration do this and the last administration do that. So Pararat now on a rant talking about how the PNM use CPEP as a slush fund for the big ministers and all kind of nonsense. But that's what they're looking for. The Auditor General's report that Ole was saying, they call election so they wouldn't be able to lay the report in the Parliament. The Parliament open. It's not we and the PNM bench, we have no say when the next session is. That's up to the UNC. They in government, they control the legislative agenda. So it's whenever they decide to call, is when we will go. How come Ole asking them about the report? They have full access, they're in charge. This Auditor General's report, that explosive. How come Ole asking about that again? And they're supposed to have all kind of thing inside it to implicate the government? Ole not interested? The Auditor General laid the report, submitted the report since in April, it's out there. Even though Ole talking about the 2023 report that was laid since April last year, and the special report that was laid since September last year. So Ole don't even know the very report that you are claiming the PNM called the election early to avoid laying the report. That report has been on the Parliament website for your scrutiny. And you don't even need to go on the Parliament website. You could just go on Google and type in Auditor General's report, Trinidad and Tobago 2023. It's there. It's been there for over a year for you to read. So which report are you talking about? The 2024 report, I didn't know we had any issues with 2024 accounts. I see as well, Pasabi says I'm making an issue because the central bank governor, Mr. Alvin Hill, refuses to divulge information with respect to who gets the distribution of Forex and who gets the most and who are the large consumers of Forex. And I'd ask myself, am I in the twilight zone? Did we not have this same issue in 2015? When the then central bank governor, Jawala Rambaran, of his own volition, decided to disclose that information, and it resulted in his termination, in the termination of his contract. Did we not go through that? Did we not see that he was condemned for doing that by making such disclosures by the business community and others who felt that he was, that was a breach of confidence and so on? Did we not? But now Pasabi Sessa is asking Alvin Hilaire to do the very same thing for which Joala Rambaran was fired. Come on, you serious? We really going on that road? And Mr. Hilaire has indicated, based on the Central Bank Act, he's under no obligation to release that information to the Minister of Finance, Prime Minister, or anybody else. So now they're creating a picture that Alvin Hilaire is a PNM and he's being obstinate and he's refusing to release the information to the government and all of that. This isn't the first time. I told you all before, as you all know, new $100 bills were supposed to be printed in December last year with new security features and so on. It doesn't invalidate the existing $100 bills, right? They will be the existing $100 bills, and these new bills are supposed to come out will all be in circulation in tandem, so it remains legal tender, the existing bills. But they're going to introduce new $100 bills with new security features, right? When that was announced, Colm Imbert, as Minister of Finance, wrote to the central bank governor asking for information with respect to the cost to print these new $100 bills and other information. And the central bank governor wrote to Mr. Imbert and informed him, hey, I'm not giving you that information. You need to check the Central Bank Act. I don't have to give you that information. I'm not giving you the information. Roxo. Same Alvin Hilaire. So when they want to come now and pretend and give you the impression that Mr. Hilaire is a PNM and he's being obstinate and he don't want, and the government is asking for information and putting out information and he doesn't want to give it because he's PNM and he's UN. No. The example is there. Mr. Imbert came to the parliament and he spoke about that. That's how I heard about it. He was in parliament and he put it on Hansard that the Ministry of Finance wrote to the central bank and asked them for information with respect to that. Who were the printers? What is the cost? What is the cost in the state, the treasury? And the central bank governor told them, we are not giving you the information. End the text. Don't bother to write back. Forget it. So this is not new. This is not the first Minister of Finance that Mr. Hilaire has refused to provide information to. So when they come in with that stupidness and they pushing that, I told you they're looking for distractions. Just remember that. He did it to Colm Imbert, and now he's doing it to Dave Tanku. Because he's operating based on the Central Bank Act, which says that he does not have to provide any such information. And he's not going to disclose it for good reason. But this is how irresponsible they are, because they want to say, as the PNM finances and them who was getting the majority of the Forex and so on. It's not about, I mean, come on. They're not interested in this information because they think it should be public knowledge and the public needs to know. The public does not need to know. What difference is it going to make? So if they publish that information tomorrow and everybody knows, when you go to the bank next day to get $200 to US to travel, they're going to give it to you. If you want $1,000, they will give it to you. It makes no difference. It's just to stir up couture and bacchanal. Distractions from the fact that the governance so far has been piss poor. Well, at least they break a record, because I think last time, by now, one minister had already been fired, Mary King. Nobody ain't get fired yet. So they're walking a tightrope. Everybody want to keep their work. So we will see how that goes. Right? But Mr. Hilaire, stand your ground. Stand your ground. That's what they promote. When you stand your ground, you are protected by the Central Bank Act. If it is that they want to be able to get that information, all they have to do, they have a majority in Parliament, come to the Parliament, amend the Central Bank Act and remove the clause that says that you have the right not to disclose information, and they could change it to say that when requests come from the Minister or the Prime Minister, whoever, to get information, regardless of the nature of it, that you have to comply. Let them come to the Parliament and do that. And we will object to it. But they have the majority and they could pass laws. They don't need us, save and except for special majorities when it comes to any changes they wish to make to the Constitution that requires that supermajority, which they do not have. All right? But save and except for that, they have a majority. The 2 seats in Tobago, where I said these guys sitting not behind us on the opposition bench, they're sitting on the government side. Even though they're supposed to be independent, but them I want to sit on we side. We have plenty of room. You could sit on our side. No. They want to sit on the government side. So we don't know what's going to take place there already. All right? They're playing fast, so it's foolishness. Partly is basically you're supporting the government, but you don't want to make it known that you're supporting the government, because you know it has some people in Tobago ain't supporting UNC at all. And anytime the TPP link up with the UNC, has problems. And it could cause folly, especially since you have a THA election due at the end of this year or latest March next year. So he ain't playing that. But we ain't stupid. All right? We look at when we have cause to go to the parliament for whatever reason, we look and see who they sit with and where they sit and who they chatting with after. So, a word to the wise is sufficient. Point to note again, I am contesting the position for social media officer for the upcoming PNM internal elections for the second time. In fact, that is the most hotly contested position of all 16. That position has the most number of persons vying. We have 5 competitors. Yeah, I was surprised to see that. I didn't think it was going to have so many. In fact, I thought might have just been about 2. But the most hotly contested position is that of social media officer. So it tells you the importance. All right. So those of you who can vote, I know some of you have made up your mind. You say you're voting because you think the system is going to be rigged. You're not supporting whoever you're supporting or whatever is the reason. But we saw what happened with social media last time. If you don't want to repeat, even though you say you're voting, just go and vote. If it's just one position you're going to vote for, social media officer, you could go to the polling station, cast your ballot for just me alone, and then go back home. You don't need to vote for anybody else. Well, no. There are other persons as well, right? So what I'm saying, if it is that you've made up your mind, because I've seen a lot of people on social media saying they're not voting, I have 5 people now, they ain't voting this time around, the first time thing, I'm just saying. All right, there are other persons beside the main slate. There are other persons who are offering themselves. There are 2 slates, which is the one PNM slate, one team, which is led by the political leader. Then you have another slate led by attorney at law for who Masaisa. I think there were 6 of them on that slate, and then the rest of us are contesting as independents. Okay, so if you are opposed to any slate or you're opposed to anybody, understand that every single position is being contested. Save and except for opposition leader, all the other positions have alternatives or alternates to the main slate. So if you're not in support, you can support whoever you want. I'm not telling you all, save and except for me, you all can support whoever else all you want. Right? So I am saying 22nd, go out and do what it is that you have to do. Okay? For me, from where I sit, I think the best outcome would be a mixed executive rather than a one slate executive. That's where from where I sit. Right? If you all are concerned about checks and balances and stuff, I think the election is going to be fair. I know there are persons who are concerned, but based on the system where each constituency executive has been given the mandate and the responsibility to conduct the elections in their constituency. So the constituency executive, I will have say in who are the 8 persons who will be working on the day, and to the total conduct of the election. So if you are concerned about any rigging, there will be no rigging taking place in Malabar Mausika, because my team, we do what we have to do. We have complete control. The only thing Balize House will be providing us with is the ballots and security. Nothing else. They have no say in anything else that happens in the constituency, and that is how it's going to be across the 41 constituencies. All right? So if you have concerns and that is keeping you from going out and doing your civic duty, I'm asking you, please go out and cast your ballot. Because the other side is looking for a distraction. They're already laughing at us. They're already saying 2010 we get a small maxi, 2030 we get another small maxi, and we're using the conductor seat because it's 13 now instead of 12. Let me don't give them another opportunity and to laugh at us now, please. I beg you all, please, right? Because we don't want them saying the PNM have a membership of over 100,000 people and only 5,000 people vote. And they could boast that when they have the internal election, you have 13 and 14,000 people coming out to vote. Last election, we had just under 9,000 persons voting out of a membership of 100,000. I know some of you are still disgruntled or you're still vexed. but the election is over, we lost. I don't think you all need to inflict any more punishment. Trust me. Trust me. We don't need any more punishment, right? Being in opposition for 5 years and the struggles that will present, we have enough punishment for the next 5 years. I get punished for things I had nothing to do with, because you all know I tried my best. I came here 3 days a week, tried my best, right? But I get punished, so I had to deal with that penance for the next 5 years. So please don't give me no more now. I have enough on my plate. I don't need any more penance. So I'm begging for your forgiveness. Whatever perceived wrongs or otherwise, real or imagined, that you felt as a result of the last administration, on behalf of the 13 of us in Parliament and the PNM hierarchy, we apologize. We sincerely apologize, and this new team, we will do better. We will do better. We're trying to. So meet us halfway now, at least halfway. We beg. So let us not have a low voter turnout. It doesn't benefit anybody. We're just giving the other side more ammunition for them to come here. People like Caribbean Soul and Chris and whoever else to come and laugh at us and say, whoever, PNM, the great mighty PNM, how we have fallen. Okay? PNM is great. What makes the PNM great are you, the members. You all make the PNM great. The PNM is not its leadership, it's the membership of the party. Right? The party's history. And you all have the potential to make the PNM continue to be great after God, or we could be not great. The choice is yours. June the 22nd, nobody will have to know. Even if you're telling people me have voted, you could sneak, put on a hat, put on shades, hide. You feel people go see you, tell them I wasn't going to vote, and then you went and vote. Yeah. But if we want to get the right social media officer this time, I have a team of young people in my constituency backing me full. And, they are ready, willing, and able, once I win, to be on board, to be on part of the team, because we understand that there is a new cohort of voters, young people, 18 and up, right, who not going to sit down and look at me here for 2 hours. They're on TikTok. Their attention span is short. Them just want to see videos for 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes top. Anything more than that, they're not interested. And these young people, they're real good with the social media. They're real good with the technology. And they are ready, willing, and able, and on board to start working on the TikTok and whatever other platforms to be able to get the young people on board and generate that conversation and bring the young people into the fold of the PNM, right? So we're going to get information here. All of the various Facebook pages and social media pages that the PNM operates or that are operated by PNM persons, the intention is to work with all of these people to ensure that the information gets out across the board, not just limited platforms, across the board. So everybody's seeing it. And if we have to create new profiles as well to get it out, we will do so. We know that there are certain influencers, we call them influencers, but social media activists who are pro-PNM out there, if we had to reach out to them too, to get them on board, and we're not paying nobody no $40,000. So if you think cannot forget it, we're not interested. These are people who are interested in the well-being of the country and who have a platform, who have a following, and willing to work with us to be able to get the information out there. So we can turn the tables. The only difference this time is that whereas the UNC was pushing lies, misinformation, and propaganda, we will only be providing you with facts and the truth. So if you have any doubt as to what we put in out, you could go and do the research for yourself. We will give you what the sources of our information are, so you could go and check it for yourself. We ain't bringing no lies and no stupid talk here. Not about that. Not about that. That's how they operate. We're not operating that way. All right? So let me see. Let's see. Merida here says some people just love this page for information and to learn something. Indeed. Nigel Gill says if the PNM used to listen to you, Nigel, I wish they did. Since 2018, when I was on 91.9, I kept saying, PNM PR is weak. PNM PR is weak. Kept saying it. There were ministers who used to listen to me, Members of the PNM executive and hierarchy used to listen. No, well, let me not say that. They used to hear me, but they weren't listening. Clearly, they weren't listening. I kept saying it over and over. When it is I was dismissed from 91.9 because I was dispelling the UNC lies and Munilal couldn't take it and call Iwan and tell him, hey, is either you get rid of that man or we stop paying you to carry our Monday Night Forum on your station. I was dispensable, right? Because I wasn't bringing money, but I was bringing money to the station in the sense that people were listening to the program and they were getting advertisements. But no man call. It is what it is. Had they listened, I offered myself to work with the social media team after the 2022 internal election. My offer, well, I guess they didn't need me. I got one call, asked if I'd like to be a part of the team. I said yes. I was added to a WhatsApp chat group. A couple of messages were posted. I received a link for one Zoom meeting where they went through the strategy for the course of the next year and so on. And I was saying these timelines that I am seeing here with respect to the rollout of certain things as it pertains to the social media campaign is unacceptable. That cannot work. One meeting, and after that, went silent. So I continue to do my thing here, but I only have so much reach. So much reach and no more. So hope is to fix that, right? Yeah, any day mistakes were made, but as in the past, there's nothing we can do now. Just to look forward to the next 5 years and ensure that the people get the information, because this government will make mistakes. They've already started doing so, and perspective is important. Point Kumana Sharon said we reached out to plenty after you got booted from the basement station. They couldn't be bothered to respond. So true. Carol Boyce is saying the PNM does not market themselves properly. Again, very true. Sharon is also saying they pretended not to hear and listen to what you were saying. That's right. And we pay the ultimate price for it, which is to lose government and now have to fight to get back in. And the UNC will try to bribe and they will use all kinds of things. I'll tell you, I'm not reading that. I will read it for myself, but I can't read that out in public. Rosalind says UNC put their candidates just before nomination day and their supporters went out to vote without knowledge of who the candidates were. Very true. Very true. And I had about, let me see, February, March, 3 months to campaign. And as I said, the constituency is larger than I thought it was. And when I went out, I met some people like coming on to the last 2 weeks before the campaign, before the election, and people telling me, if I didn't see you, I wasn't voting for you, I wasn't voting. This is PNM people telling me this, right? I ain't just voting for every and anybody. They say, the PNM could put a crap in a balizeta and PNM people. No. You lucky you come here today because if I didn't see you, I was not voting. But if I pass and you're not home, is it my fault that you didn't see me? It's a big constituency. If the campaign was 6 months long or 9 months long, no problem. I could probably pass back in your area 2 or 3 times. But when I pass and you're not home, you can't expect me to say, well, all right, let's take a note of everybody, all the houses here where nobody came out. I don't even know if you're home. Sometimes you go to some people and they tell you don't need to walk the street, because it's a PNM street, so you're safe here. You need to walk. People telling me that, but clearly there were persons who living in these same streets who saying if they didn't see the candidate, they're not voting. There were a lot of areas that I didn't get to touch before the election. People didn't see me. They had no idea what I looked like, even except for my posters and the billboards and stuff. And that wasn't enough. They didn't vote because they didn't see the candidate. And look how important that was when we look at the margin of victory. As I told you, Lisa Morris Julian got 11,600 plus votes. I get 7,006. 4,000 people. The UNC vote count went up by 1,900 in my constituency. My vote count went down by 4,000. Plenty people didn't come out. Some of them would have gone across the UNC for whatever reason. But, yellow is the code. I'll tell I cannot read that. If I read that, Oli will get me in trouble. Anyway, I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go there. You know what? Let us not. I just want to make this admonition, right, folks? The outcome, I was making the point earlier, and I digress. The outcome of this last election, and I was saying that the persons who chose not to vote, to withhold their vote, that while you may have thought that the only damage that you would have inflicted to the PNM would have been they could lose the election, even if you may not have been thinking about it doing any damage, you were just genuinely upset, disappointed with the party, and you couldn't bring yourself to vote. I'll tell you the damage is greater than you would think. Right? A word to the wise is sufficient. And loss of the election was the big thing, but it has had ripple effects on the party. Right? And so this recalibration, realignment exercise is going to be a lot more difficult than some of you will think, because it has split the party, I could tell you. Because had we won, the outcome would have been Stuart Chung would have been the Prime Minister. And whenever the internal election was called, chances are, likelihood is that he would have probably become the political leader too. But that didn't happen, and we saw what the turn of events was. So we have a new political leader in the person of Penny Beckles Robinson. Also the opposition leader, she's unopposed. She is the political leader. Whether you like it or not, she is the political leader, or will be. She's the political leader elect, unopposed. So she will be political leader for the next 4 years. That cannot change. It will not change. Right? So, save and except for an act of God, it will not change. Penny is the leader. Whether you like it or not, it is what it is. It cannot. There's nothing you could do about it. The deadline has passed for her to be challenged. And I'm saying the party is already divided. We don't need for the party to be divided any further. So there are a lot of persons who I know who are disappointed. Whatever the reason is, they don't support Penny. There are those who don't support Stuart and who support Penny. And there are those who don't support some of the other persons who are offering themselves for the executive. Okay. But it does not help the party for us to continue to push division. So I see people posting stuff on social media, whether it be that they're attacking the political leader or attacking Stuart or attacking whoever, and talking about Stuart was 1% and all of that, and Stuart didn't grow up, Stuart don't know what it is to be poor, and all of these things. And listen, all of that is of no importance right now. Okay? But Stuart is not an issue. He didn't offer himself. He's no longer the Prime Minister. He's just an ordinary MP. So we had to work with the current political leader to get the party back to where we need it to be. So yes, democracy at play. Yes, you're upset, but it doesn't help the party. You say, I done with the PNM, I'm here with the PNM again, and I've taken people. No, that doesn't help us. We need the votes to win. To get back into office, we need votes. We don't need to be hemorrhaging supporters. What we need to do is to be building our support base. And I know, so let us not act on emotion. Okay? If you have a particular person that you, well, outside of the political leader, if you have other persons that you would like to see on the executive, or you have persons you don't want to see on the executive, the solution is simple. You're entitled to vote. Come out on the 22nd and vote for who you want. You have the power in your hands to create the executive that you want. It does not have to be a one-slate executive. It does not have to be. So if some people come from the main slate and some people come from independents, only you all can do that. But if you decide you are voting and you're not participating in this election, it will not happen. Forget this thing about the election rig and all kind of thing. Listen, go out and vote. There will be observers at the polling stations in the 41 constituencies to see if any ratcheting taking place. If you all are concerned about it, But I will make sure there's no rattrify in my constituency and my polling stations. That's not happening. All right? So familiarize yourself with who are the people. When next I come back on, I can't come on Tuesday. Tuesday, I gotta go to immigration. Apparently, when you're a member of parliament, you get a special passport. So, and the parliament already book an appointment, hand me an envelope Friday and say, you have an appointment for your new passport. I open and I see Tuesday, they send me there. So, probably Thursday. All right, but I'm saying, just for now, put aside your grievances, do what you need to do. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, they're brutal. See somebody saying Stuart Totten feeling because they picked Penny. Stuart did not offer himself. Folks, listen. Because of where I sit, right? Anything that I say in respect of that could be misconstrued. I am not campaigning for anybody but myself. Right? But myself. I am offering myself for social media officer. If you want to know who the others are, the information is available. You could go on any of the PNM pages. You could go on I think the PNM Facebook page, and you can get the information. I am not coming here to tell you all who to vote for and who not to vote for, even except from me. There are persons in my own constituency who are going up for various positions. I'm not even going to come here and tell you to vote for them, because I don't want it to be perceived that I am against anybody and I come in and no, I'm not doing that. All right? Let me make it abundantly clear. I am not part of any game changers, change makers, or whatever they call themselves. I have no idea who these people are. I have no idea where they are. I am no part of that. All right? From my understanding, things have been posted on this particular page on Facebook, the debunking page, and there are those who assume that that was me, and I keep telling you all, I am not the only person with access to this page. So when you all see things posted and people assume it is me, it is not me. Save and except for my live, I hardly make any contribution. If you see sometimes stuff posted, is because I might see something that somebody post and I think is good information. I might see a meme or something like that, and I will repost it. But I hardly ever originate posts. So I'm making it abundantly clear that when you all see things being posted on the debunking page on Facebook, it is not me. But some things have been posted and people think that I posted these things and interpreting it as perhaps I am against whoever. I am against nobody. My focus is to represent my constituency to the best of my ability for the course of the next 5 years. I don't want no couture. I don't want no bacchanal. All right? I am doing what needs to be done. So as I said, I'm not coming here other than myself. I am not coming here to tell you all who to vote for, who not to vote for. So if you're coming here to look for guidance with respect to that, you're not going to get it from me. Other than you will hear, vote for Dominic Romain for social media officer. That's it. Familiarize yourself. I'm sure I'll probably try and post the list of all the candidates on the debunking page so you all can see it and go and scrutinize. But I'm not telling you all who to vote for and who not to vote for. That's not coming out of my mouth. All right? So, yes. Let me see here. This thing charge. I could probably take a couple calls. What's the time now? I didn't see my counselor reach out to me as yet. Yeah. 7701763. Remember, if you call in, you'll have to call on the WhatsApp, because I don't know what's going on with the direct line. I had to check that, or probably had to get a new SIM card. Yeah, let me see. Marlon McAllister is saying, I waiting on new card more than always some stupid excuse it's not ready. Well, Marlon, I was there on Friday and I saw they had quite a few cards, membership cards, and they were putting them in envelopes. Some persons would have come in on the day and they asked and they didn't have it there, but they told them come back in a couple of days. So I don't know if it is that they, when you go in, they will print it and have it available. But I think they're trying to make every effort to have these cards available by in time for the election. So if you haven't gotten your card before, please go down to Bali's house and they will try to expedite it for you so that you can do your thing. Yeah. Let me see who I have here. So hold 1 sec, caller. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, man. How are you going?
Hi, good man.
Yeah, I'm just seeing you for some days, boys.
As what?
But I was sure that you're in your coming to the election.
Thank you.
Right? Like I said, I guess so much to talk about. But I guess they covered everything. Particularly with this recent brouhaha between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela. It shows that this government don't know how important geopolitics is. Right?
Yes.
I just want to tell all those individuals who feel that this country should have a confrontation with Venezuela. You better remember that Venezuela have a strong alliance with Russia, China, and Iran. So if you touch Venezuela, you touch those countries as well. And we will be caught in the middle. But apparently there's certain people in this country or certain people with an agenda who probably want to reestablish a US base in this country. That is what I am seeing.
Yeah.
They want to go back to the days of Gina and Dinah days. They tell us that if they bring our base here, the economy will probably boost. And God knows what other illicit activities that will contribute in this country.
Yep.
Remember the Prime Minister said that she wants to put a tax online for pornography. So, goodness gracious, when you have this base established, just a hypothetical position that was a tax Venezuela, so now what will happen? And Dominic, I have proposed again to sit on the radio. I think I should have a TV program. Or maybe a podcast. If it is a certain TV operators giving you problems that you don't want to give you a program, I think you need to set up a podcast.
Yes.
And have some kind of alliance with some outside broadcasters. Podcasters, right?
Yes.
I was supposed to have people in the diaspora who are supporters of the PNM, and I think I should reach out to them.
Yep.
But Mr. Wall Street,
yeah.
I think that's a way to look at the America as well. Right?
Yep.
I think I should get all your young people there. What do you think? I do have a personal problem with TikTok. I'm not a big fan of TikTok. But I see how important this app is to young people.
Yeah.
If you have that podcast program or the TV program, you could probably revisit all the good programs that the last administration offered to the youth.
The synergy program may be returning soon. Yes, I'll say the synergy program may be returning soon, so look out for that. This time show says last week you told us you were part of the Ministry of AI. No, I am not. The Minister of AI, Public Administration and AI is Dominic Smith. He was the UNC's candidate for Malabar-Morsika. I have been, so how the opposition works is that you have shadow MPs or shadow ministers. So we would be assigned different ministries to shadow. So like, for instance, any issues that deal with public administration and AI, because I was given that ministry to shadow, I would be required to make public statements with respect to the goings on in that ministry. So for instance, if and when it is announced that the work from home policy is being rolled out, I would put out a statement reminding persons that had started under the PNM, and it was done in earnest following COVID, right? When the government would have seen how that whole situation worked and how it could work, particularly to treat with the issue of the traffic situation and so on, right? And I know that was spearheaded by former Minister of Public Administration, Alison West. So I am not in part of the Ministry of AI. I am the shadow minister, or the shadow MP for the Ministry of AI. Right? So I will speak on matters related to that. Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
I only have a question. As a candidate, are you going up independent PMN?
Yes, I am.
Quote unquote,
quote unquote. No.
Then you are a member of that.
No, I am an independent candidate, so I'm not on anybody's slate.
Oh God, boy! Oh God, boy! You know, turn out the expression. You know, turn out the expression.
Yes.
Because the last internal, when you were that candidate, now I was almost sure, because I went out, I voted for you.
Right.
I was almost sure that you were going to pull down that position. And between the both of us, Dominic, I'm almost very, very sure, and I'm sure that you would know that in opposition might have done so simply because the leaders.
Yes, correct.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So now I will go and vote for you again, because I mean I will try, but I wish you the best of luck this time. But I'm a bit skeptical, because I know how Trinidadians dress it.
Yes. Yes.
You understand? And it might be we might suffer the same thing which we did after the last internal, with the position of the position which you are contesting.
Yes.
You understand? So, well, you can go on my vote. I will go
Thank
and
you.
vote.
Thank you so much.
Another, in fact, I'll take advice. I'll only go out and vote for that particular position. You understand?
Yes.
But the best of luck, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, I can say that had there not been any slates last time, I would have won the position, because I would have gotten the second highest number of votes of all the independent candidates. Daniel Duki would have gotten just over 3,000 something votes, and I got over 2,000 votes. In fact, there were some persons who, on the former PNM executive I was having a discussion about recently, and they were saying to me, when they saw how much votes I got, they were very surprised, and they're like, "Who is this man? How he gets so much votes?" and whatever. And some of them didn't know me. And as I said before, what happens with slate is that when persons support, they might just support the leader, and they go out to vote, and they will just vote for the whole slate, because they assume that because all these people on the slate that is endorsed by the leader, that they're supposed to be there, or that they're good. The leader endorsed them, so they're good, even though they have no idea who these people are. Right? So we'll see how it goes. But I said, I'm not telling anyone who to vote. Other than for me, I'm not telling anyone who to vote for. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I am good.
Congrats, and more congrats.
Thank you.
When I wonder if you're civic minded, I had cold body, a complaint and fever. I left home in darkness to go vote.
Right.
I almost fainted in polling vote. You had to give me a chair because I was about to pass out.
Wow.
And I still choose to vote. Now, you took chain up, right? So who's detriment of chain up? Your children, your grand, your great-grand, you took chain up against it. Not against Rowley or Stuart Young. Other party, you took it against yourself. You see now, you had the footmen, the horsemen, you know. You'll be paralyzed with fear when you see your children trampled before your eyes. I mean, mentally trampled, financially trampled, and even have no jobs because of the ignorance, because of your hate, and because of your lack of thought. 2020 was hard, right? The year was hard. You have made your children's future that much harder. When the horsemen kick it to the curb with a big belly, no to you, because Putin and a good friend, right? Trump would have to be Putin with a girlfriend. You know why? Because Putin is a madman. And Kamala is playing games. Kamala, why build the wall? Why build the wall? Because you had all the answers to election. The answers now is psychic. This is the best thing after microwaves. A friend of mine, right, who yells you code, okay? And she couldn't know because her husband sleeper got laid off, right? You know, my husband had no money. We have bills to pay. I said, ask my business how. Turn on me. I want to say, honey, you show like an elephant. Like an elephant, you bite you like a timber. You show with you, you come with you. I do not care. I am brutal to the 28. You can't hurt you, cut it off. You have 9 more toes. You just hurt you, cut it off to the camera and get 20 toes. But on behalf of the Kenyan family, we love you. We are proud of you. It's all of us. Have a good day, my brother. Be blessed. Love you much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so the number is 7701763. 7701763. So somebody is asking, saying there was, let me see if I get here. The person is saying, I heard had no slate because having slate is bacchanal is not a one man, one vote. So it is one man, one vote. So what they're saying is that how the slate comes about is that everybody who wants to contest a position had to file their papers last week to be a candidate. Some people decided that they wanted to form a team so that they would campaign as a team. But there was no obligation on their part to do so. Everybody could have just say, I contested, I offering myself. The thing is, when you form a team, if you plan to do significant campaigning, it helps you. Now, the challenge I have with slate, as I said, when you have slates, and in particular you have slates that are led by the leader of the party, it presents a challenge because when people go out to vote, they know who the leader is. So like in 2022, everybody knows who Dr. Rowley is. All who love Dr. Rowley. So they're going to vote. They get to the polling booth, they give you a booklet. So for each position, So there's multiple ballots in the, so it's not like when you go to vote for general election, they give you one ballot and you put your name, your X against the name, right? You're going to have multiple ballots like that in this booklet because it's 16 positions. So you'll have 16 pages in this booklet. And you go through. First position, well, since there is no opposition leader, it'll be 15 pages. So then the next position after political leader, so that'll be the first page. All the candidates for that particular post will be there. You put your X. You flip. So if you know you have a preference for somebody who's vying for this position, you could put your X. You are under no obligation to vote for everybody. So if you decide, well, look, the only position I go in and cast my ballot for is social media officer, they give you the booklet, you flip through the pages, right? I look in, where is the ballot for social media officer? Right, look at it. I find my person, X, you right, you do that, and you go, get them back the booklet, they will sort that out. If you feel there are 3 or 4 different people that you want to vote for because you know the person who going up for social media officer, you know the person who going up for welfare officer, you know the person who going up for youth officer, and you know the person who going up for chairman. So you see, I'm only voting for those 4 positions because that's the only people I know. I don't know anybody else who vying for those other positions and not voted. What happened in 2022 is that when people came to vote, they know the political leader is Dr. Rowley. They probably know they know Camille Robinson Regis, but she was unopposed. And I think Faris was unopposed. So their names would never appear. So they vote for Dr. Rowley and they say, well, okay, everybody who was on Dr. Rowley's slate, I voted for them. Even though I don't know who they are, what they look like, what they're about, because they're on Dr. Rowley's slate. If Dr. Rowley approved them, then they're good. So I trust in Dr. Rowley's judgment and I put in my X by everybody who on Dr. Rowley's slate. And that's what happened, right? So there were people who didn't know me. So they would pull up the page, the ballot for social media officer. They see, okay, Dominic Romain, Kwesi Robinson, whoever else, Dean Wilson. Oh gosh, what was this girl's name? Can't remember her name. So there were 4 of us. They don't know me, they don't know Dane, and they don't know the lady, but they would have seen Kwesi on Dr. Rowley's slate and they voted because, so they just going through and they're only looking for the candidates on Dr. Rowley's slate and they just put in the X next to that. And that's what happened. So that's why I don't support slate. I'm saying that everybody go independent, everybody present themselves and let the people choose. So if you did a piss poor job of marketing yourself and people then vote for you, that's on you. You should have gone on social media or you should have found some way to let people know who you are. Or if people go and they don't know any of the candidates, just say, well, I don't know none of these people, so I'm not voting for this position. Next. I don't know anybody here either. Next. So you don't have to vote for all the positions. If you don't know the people, you're not familiar, you don't know who to choose, and you don't want to vote blindly, you could just vote for the people, the positions where you know the person. So as I said, if the only person you know is me, or if you don't like who on the other ballots, you don't have to vote for them. But it is one man, one vote. One man, one vote means everybody, every member has a right to come and cast their ballot. What used to happen before, the PNM had a delegate system. So the constituency executive would select the delegate and they would come together and they would say, they would confer with the party groups and so on. And they would say, well, okay, Malabar Mausika supporting Dominic Romain for social media officer, Malabar Mausika supporting Maxine Richards for welfare officer, Malabar Mausika supporting Sanjeev Buru for, let's say, elections officer, and they would decide all who they're supporting. And then they would go to the convention and they would lodge who they supported. So there was no one man, one vote, meaning not every man could vote. Only the delegate would speak on behalf of all the members in the constituency. Dr. Rowley did away with that delegate system so that every member could now come and vote and not say, well, the executive said they're voting for Dominic Romain, but I'm not supporting Dominic Romain. I don't know who he is. This so and so is my friend, so I want this person. So if you don't want me, you come, you go to the polling station, and you put your X next to the person that you want, not the constituency impose somebody on you and say that's who they supported and you don't agree with it, right? So that probably say let every member, we have 100 and something thousand members, give every one of them the opportunity to register their vote rather than have somebody impose a decision on them that they don't agree with. All right, so that's what the one man, one vote is. Everybody could vote. So that's the system that currently exists. And I think that's good. So on the 22nd, you know what to do. As I said, familiarize yourself. You have a lot of the candidates who are posting up stuff on social media, promoting themselves. So get to know them. If you go through the list, you could go, all of these people have Facebook pages. You see a name, you could go on their Facebook page, pull up, see what they have, and familiarize yourself there. Some people are known, some people are not known. So let me see what I'm seeing here. So Selena is asking, why are some of those people running for social media when they were not good communicators? Selena, you want to get me trouble. Oh Lord. Sharon, Point Commander Sharon, I'm always available. They won't know how to reach out to me if you want to do an interview. And I'll make myself available. Anand says PNM supporters have too much spite in their brains and the party has to appease them or lose. That's true. Look how many of these people promoting yellow is the code. Where they get nothing. Coming on social media and doing videos and asking if all they feel that the activists who promoted UNC, if they should be rewarded in some way. Please. Debbie D is saying, my very good friend is going up for social media, and I told him flat, I'm supporting Dominic. Thank you so much, Debbie. Now, let me say this, that once, if I am successful and I win, I am prepared to work with everybody. So I will reach out to all of the other 4 persons who offer themselves, because clearly they all believe that they have something to offer to boost our social media presence. And at the end, it is we all PNM, you know, we all PNM. So don't mean because one person went that the rest of people should just go by the wayside. Come on board and let us all work together. It's just that the person who wins would be the person who spearhead, and that was not the most amount of work to do. Because when they had to do reports and stuff for general counsel or whatever it is, or central executive, and as the case may be, and if it is that the social media campaign doesn't work, who get the licks? Is the social media officer? They ain't seen the people behind, the man who in charge of content and the man who in charge of this and that. They not get any blame, no. It's the man who at the helm. He is the one who will say he was the failure. It's because of him. So I am saying we can all work together. All of you all are PNM members. If you weren't a member of the PNM, you would not have been able to run for a position. And when we went to Bali's House last week, one of the first things they do, and you come with your nomination papers, they pull up on the system to see if you're a member, and if you're a member in good standing, meaning if you're paid up your dues. If you ain't pay your dues, you have to pay it on spot. Otherwise, you're not allowed to go upstairs to file your papers. So that's how it went. All right? So I am prepared to work with everybody. Bring your ideas on board. Let's work together. There's work to be done to deal with that. Team Rodney says you will have my vote. Thank you so much. Agreed, Annette Moses. I agree with you. Lisa Breton says she's voting for me. Thank you so much. Yes, we all have to work together. And that's what has to be done, right? It's not about ranking thing and all of that. We all equal. See here. Oh, Christina, trust me. He got a lot of licks. A lot. No, so the Aries, the last social media officer, he did not offer himself this time, so he's not contesting. Brenda Marcel says we need to move on from all the negative and start to build back from the fallout. Let them don't have the say that the PNM mash up. I agree with you 100%. And as I said, I'm begging people, let us not, internal elections have a way of being nasty, especially when you have slates. I remember I told you all last time in 2022 when they had slate and people went up, and when they were having meetings all over the place and certain people went up on the platform and try and talk for me. I was like, but where that come from? I just contesting like everybody else. What is this? So that's why I don't like that. I say if everybody running, run independently. Win on merit, not based on hiding hiding behind a slate. Let's see. Let me see here. I feel somebody when we get in trouble here. I can't read some of these things you are posted here, I cannot. I can read it, but I can't read it out loud, unfortunately. Yeah, because lest I be accused of things that I am not doing. And it says, yeah, very true, Annette. Gabriel G says, I'm voting for people who can, I guess, climb the top of Mount Everest, the other side, and the plains ahead. Point Kumana Sharon says, I already sent my list to all my family and they're voting for you. Thank you so much, Point Kumana. Thank you so much. Val says, I've got yours. Thank you, Val. Patricia Reed, thank you so much. Thank you, Claire Carrington. Yes, Roger, the number is 770-1763. No, for your status of the number, yeah, let me get you the number here. Balize House is just now. Persons would have reached out to me and I would have given them the number, and they did in fact call, and they were able to confirm. So the number for Balize House to confirm your membership, and if you want to know if your membership card is there, is where is it? Just doing this up here too, right? So, right, let me get it. Right, so the number is 484-3766. 484-3766. That's the Balize House number if you want to find out if your membership is good and it's up to date. Adriana Alexis is asking if there'd be a voters list. Yes, Adriana. So persons would have been allowed to submit membership forms up until last week, not last week, week before, if you wanted to become a member to vote. So Monday before was the deadline for that. So those names will be approved by Central Executive, and the updated list will be printed and it will be sent out to all the constituencies. So persons can check to see if their names are there. And also too, the list will be provided. So if anybody is aware of any persons on the list who may be deceased or who may have defected from the PNM and are now members of another party, you could let us know so that we can provide that information to Balize House and have these persons' names removed from the list. You see here, I think. Oh, I didn't block anybody. As I said, if you had a call, you need to call on WhatsApp, because I don't know when you call directly to the line for some reason, you're not getting through. So I may have to change that SIM card and get a new number. So you have to save the number 770-1763. You can save it under Faxa Stubborn Things and call on WhatsApp. Because since only the WhatsApp calls are coming through, unless you have my personal number. And if you call, it will ring and I just answer. Oh Lord. Era, someone let that easy, you know. Oh, let that easy. Anyway, let me not say that, Let me not see that. Celestine Shelton Allen says, Dominic, I'm rooting for you as social media officer. Thank you so much. Susie Laduman, Susie, you're making trouble here, you know. Anyway, I ain't reading them things. That's who wanted to let them go on the live. Aries Bond is asking, with your very busy schedule, we hope to get a couple more lives before the internal election. Yes, we will get more because this is the platform on which I am using to campaign. I see a lot of people putting out stuff on social media and stuff, but yeah. I'm not too inclined on using the traditional thing. I don't even think, I know in the last internal election, they had, I think the Couva South or the Couva North constituency executive had a kind of debate system kind of thing. Well, not a debate. What they did was they afforded each candidate to come down to a space in Couva. They did a recording, and everybody was allowed to speak for a particular period of time and say something about yourself and what you intend to do. And I think questions were asked as well, if memory serves me correctly. And then they would post it up for all to see. Look, let me go and see my my constituent, how she making it, because somewhere here. Stamisho is saying I was cussing the shadow MP of AI. So Stamisho, I saw the question asking if I'd be familiar. So remember, the minister, the government through the minister determines policy for the ministry, right? So the PNM had a Ministry of Digital Transformation, which was led by former Senator Hassel Backus. Basically, they were doing more or less the same thing, similar to the AI side of things. So I understand Mr. Smith's specialty is in AI, but so I really would not know what is happening in the ministry, even except for what is published. I can remember the minister is responsible for the day-to-day policy as to how the ministry runs. So if he has ideas on how he thinks they should develop AI and he takes a note to cabinet and it's approved, so I wouldn't have that information. So what I would do is that based on, so for instance, when the budget debate starts in September, October, well, Mr. Smith is in the Senate. I am in the House of Representatives. So when he is making the presentation and when he is speaking for his ministry, I would not be present in the chamber. So I would have to hear what Mr. Smith says by looking at television, unless I go to the public gallery on the day when he is speaking. But I wouldn't know what day he is speaking. So after the budget is read, we have what is called the Standing Finance Committee. Now, even though I have been assigned two ministries to shadow, the Ministry of Public Administration and AI and the Ministry of Labor and Micro Enterprise. I think that is still the same name, and Labor and Cooperatives, Micro and Small Enterprises and so on, right? So those are the two ministries. So obviously I wouldn't be able to speak on both. I can't shadow both. The Minister of Labor is in the lower house, which is, he's also a senator. That is former PSA President Leroy Batiste. So again, I would not be able to respond directly to Mr. Batiste in the House because he will not be speaking in the lower house, he will speak in the Senate. So it is up to the 6 PNM MPs in the Senate to respond. And how a debate normally goes is one side speaks, then the other side speaks. They have 26, we have 13. So you realize we would not be able to respond to everybody. Whereas in the last configuration, in the last parliament, where they had 19 seats and we had 22, it was a lot, it would have been a lot more, there was greater latitude for them to do that. The challenge is, because we have 13 and they have 26, unless we come to an agreement with them where more than one of their members will speak, one after the other, rather than we alternate, it could cause problems. Because what had happened a couple of years ago in the lower house during the budget debate, the UNC decided that they were only going to respond to the heavy hitters, as they call it, the big ministers. So when Lisa Morris Julian, my predecessor, when she spoke, after she spoke, nobody in the UNC got up because they said she's just a junior minister, and what she's saying really isn't really worth responding to. So nobody got up, right? And in those circumstances, because nobody got up, the speaker called for somebody on the government side to speak. And because the expectation was that somebody on the UNC side was going to speak, the members of the government side, the PNM side, who were in the House at the time, had already spoken. So there was nobody present on the government side to speak because they thought they had some time. So people were outside of the chamber, not knowing that the UNC was not going to get up and send anybody to speak. They waiting for some of the other heavy hitters. And in those circumstances, the speaker said, well, since nobody prepared to speak on the opposition side, and it had nobody to speak on the government side, she called on the Minister of Finance to wind up the debate. And so a lot of people on the UNC side did not get to debate because they did not discuss with the leader of government business that is what they were going to do. And so the debate was wound up and they were upset, right? So even on the government side, some people didn't get to speak, some ministers didn't get to speak because the debate was wound up before they could. But they had the facility that they could go in the Senate and speak. As we in opposition, we don't have that facility. We could only speak in the lower house. So the challenge that we have, because it's 13 versus 26, if we do the alternate, when one speak, then we speak, one speak. It means that after our 13 are used up, assuming all 13 will speak, we will then have to endure 13 consecutive speakers from the government side once we use up our 13. Right? Because they will use 13, we will use 13, so it cancel out and still have 13 on their side to speak. So we will just have to sit down for hours and listen to 13 persons speak on their side. So unless we have a discussion with the leader of government business to tell them, look, because it's 13 and you all have 26, if you all could allow where for every 2 persons who speak on your side, we will have 1 speaker, right? So you all do 2, we do 1, you all do 2, we do 1. So that way, but as I said, 2 ministries that I have been assigned to shadow, both those ministers are in the Senate, so I will not be able to respond to them directly. But during the Standing Finance Committee, which is where we have these big yellow books that itemizes all of the expenditure, and we will go through line by line, Minister Smith will have to come to the lower house to speak on the allocations to his ministry, and I will be able to ask him questions specifically as it relates to line items and allocations in the book. But I can't speak about anything else, only what is in front of us. Likewise, Minister Batiste, Leroy Batiste, will also have to come to the lower house during the Standing Finance Committee to answer questions and to speak to allocations to his ministry, and therefore I'll be able to ask him questions specifically pertaining to allocations in the yellow book. But that's about it. All right. So if otherwise to that, the challenge we have is, remember, the budget debate takes place in the lower house before it goes to the upper house. So by the time the budget debate reaches the Senate, I would have already spoken because the debate would have concluded in the lower house. So anything that Mr. Smith or Mr. Batiste says while they're debating in the upper house, I will not have an opportunity to respond to because I would have already spoken in the lower house, right? So I could just probably put out a statement, and I listen to them on TV and put out a statement afterwards, challenging something that they say or what. But that's unfortunate, the unfortunate reality. Yeah. So yes, Alicia, Leroy. And it is saying they would not agree to that arrangement because Padarad them mean to make PNM squirm, and I agree with you, and feel their full weight in the lower house. More than likely. More than likely. Anon is also saying they wouldn't allow that. Well, we could ask, but again, they are under no obligation to accede to the request. So, yeah. In fact, it might be in their best interest not to accede to the request, because if we operate like that, then it means all 26 of their MPs would have to speak, in addition to the 2 from Tobago. And I verily believe there are some persons, some UNC MPs, that they would prefer not speak. Because if they were to get up to speak, it would probably be a total embarrassment. All right, Mr. Alexander, member for Tunapuna, might say, turn off the light there. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, just turn off the light there for me a second. I want to do something. Turn off the light for me, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, right. Imagine you're in your bed, Sunday morning, 5 o'clock. I knock on the door. You're in bed with your wife. Somebody comes in with a gun. What are you going to do? You can turn on the light there for me, Mr. Speaker. I make the point. He better he or she moved. Right? And when I went for the tour of the Parliament, some of my UNC colleagues were on the tour with me. And the dotish questions that they were asking the clerk of the house, I said, Lord Father, you really asked that question, Paul? You see, some of them, it's better they should never speak for the next 5 years. Just keep quiet. Or they have enough people, or they can hide behind and just hush. The only time we should hear their voices when we have a vote and we have a division, and they need to go call each person individually and ask them to say yeah or nay. That's the only time we should hear them. Otherwise, they should just hush them out and don't talk. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Speaker. Turn off the light. Turn off the light. Turn off the light a second. Ah, boy. Oh, gosh. Well, the WhatsApp number is 7701763. Yeah, some of them just need to hush. Don't talk. And we had to sit down there and endure that. And that parliament chamber could get pretty cold at times. That's why Dr. Rowley used to be wearing a scarf. When I sit down inside there, yeah. Imagine you in a suit and it's freezing cold. So, shall I say, all bulk and no breed. Oh God, you're brutal. Yeah, so we shall we get a companion for Michelle Benjamin. So one green verb wasn't bad enough. Now we get two. Trust me, it have others there too, eh? It have others. Hey, sir. Ishmael is saying, that's no. 1 sec. Jenny. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, MP Romain.
Hey, Jen.
Good afternoon, also Faxes, 7 things. I want to wish you all the best in the upcoming internal elections.
Thank you.
Everybody would have known in the last internal election, I took it upon myself to be a manager. And I would have thumped it, and as you would have said, had there not been a perceived team with Dr. Ravi at the head of it, you would have surely would have won that position, and we may have been in a different position today. However, as it is, I wish you all the best in this one.
Thank you.
Dominic, I know that your MP Romain. Yes. I know that your hands would be tied. You will not be able to operate
not just
as
my,
you would have done.
Not just my hands, not just my foot, everything.
Well, your hands, your foot, everything. I fully understand that. The kind of freedom that you had prior to becoming a member of Parliament.
Yes.
Yes. You do not have it no more. So I understand that. But you have to understand something too. We do not have such limitations.
Correct. Yes.
We continue as we have been doing in the interest of the People's National Movement on social media. And whether the PNM, those who are there now want to admit it or not, in the absence of a properly functioning PRO, social media officer, education officer, we took it upon ourselves, and he was a part of that also, and Rick and Mr. Chance and so many others on social media, those who come and support us when we write anything. We took it upon ourselves to stand in defense of Trinidad and Tobago against what the UNC was doing in the absence of having a PNM, social media officer, public relation officer, education officer on social media or on traditional radio, speaking in defense of Trinidad and Tobago in a proper way. Today, those same persons who would have stood and did human service, we didn't ask nobody to do it, we didn't beg nobody, and nobody didn't authorize us to do it, but we did it for love of country and patriotism. And it is kind of disheartening to see today with this new one love or something PNM, that the same persons who were going along happy when we were jamming the UNC, when we were saying what we had to say, well, cannot us have this and the UNC, they had no problem. And it is the truth you were speaking, that today, because we are unhappy about certain things that are happening in this PNM, when you want to have 13 MPs now, greatly diminished from when you are 21 or 22. And because we are seeing things, I've taken liberty to say we are seeing things, those who fight on social media and have been in the sense fighting for the PNM all this time. We are seeing things that we're not happy with and not comfortable, and it is unfortunate that when we speak out, I have never hidden my name so everybody knows Jennifer Frederick. That when I speak out now, you are being insulted, you are being told you can't say this, you can't say that, and that we are the problem. All of a sudden, we have become the problem in the PNM, and the PNM created, and some of them same officials created problems for the PNM. We would have heard conversations, and because we just get information, because once you're out there and given information, whatever, people give us information also. We have heard conversations about PNM people, officials in PNM going around prior to the election on April 20th, whether people felt it was called too quick, whether they felt Dr. Rowley did this, whatever it is. But they're going around and telling people in certain constituency, do not vote for the PNM and no Chinese future. We are hearing those things and we believe it to be true. We also heard that they say this is a black party, and that even if PNM lose the election, they will deal with that. Those things are out there. So you can't be upset with people like us when we see certain kinds of things and we speak about it, because we want the best PNM to be inside it 126 or how much inside it. It ain't gonna be easy inside there. And the PNM already started off with about 5 members of parliament who, like yourself, maybe the first time, and may not be too opera, you'll be able to handle your stories because you have been juggling all the time. But we are saying that the PNM will be in some problems in the parliament. And we are willing to stand again in defense of the PNM, but not with the type of treatment that we are being given now, simply because we are saying, and it's not because we do not like the opposition leader, Mrs. Beckers Robinson. It's not because we don't like the PNM, but we are saying at the same time, tell us, reassure us about her leadership qualities, because we know about Dr. Rowley, you could even see in the energy sector, we know about this, and we know all those persons, but we have never seen, or I have never seen or heard anything that will give me the comfort to know that our opposition leader is going to be the best person to lead. And then they started off wrong again, so that's why they can't be upset with us. There are 30 members of parliament, they caucus with only 6 and ourselves, and out of that, they voted as the opposition leader. While the other 6 persons won't call, make it a democratic space. We heard these things, we know it to be true. We know when they had the election to the vacant position of chairperson and what, we knew that there are 2 persons who voted that they are not eligible to vote. Coming out of that, we see Dr. Gaspy and whoever. Those things are there for us to see. We see in the Senate that people who PNM people rejected, they brought back in as senator. And we're not seeing any new development or anything. And people talking about it and they're getting upset. So I want to tell your colleagues at the end of the day, that they depend not only on the small group inside the PNM, but people on the outside who could be able to help and carry the information, bring the information, and that people know what's going on in the PNM. So they need to understand we is not the enemy, but don't make an enemy of us. We is not the enemy. We are speaking because we are concerned and we have every right to be. And finally, I saw the opposition leader have a launch of a slate. At first, they were saying there's no slate, but we see a slate. And she's saying that the honorable opposition leader is saying that she's not running. I think somebody said she's not running after the car. We don't want her to do that. What we want her to do is when important issues come up, that she has a voice because she's represented us out there who did not vote for the RNC and for us who are concerned about how this country will. She has not said anything on the Venezuela situation. She has not said anything on Javio sick. She has not said anything about the sending the children no longer suspension but expulsion. There's nothing. So I'm asking, is it she's setting us up saying, don't expect much from me because or they ain't gonna get much? Is that what she's setting us up to do? Because we'll continue to ask her to respond. So just simply saying they're not running after every cow or some kind of thing like that is not good enough. And again, I want to end by saying, we do not hate the opposition leader. I mean, the opposition leader. We don't dislike this one, but we are saying the PNM is in a position where they are trying to, as you say, it's not build back, but come stronger. And we're not seeing that strength. And strength does not mean when we say the word that the opposition leader is weak. We don't mean physically weak, and we don't mean she has to talk loud and shout. That's not what we say. She could just humble, and here they train on the word humility and humility. Okay, you could have all the humility and quiet, and that is quite okay. However, strength comes from a different place, and if they don't have it, people will see that. So again, I'm saying I understand that your hands, your foot, everything is tied, but ours is not. We're not inside there, and we continue to do our work ourselves. And sometimes you may find that what we say may not rest well with you, but you have to understand. Had you not been a member of Parliament, you would have been right there with us, saying the same things that we are saying, and bringing and shedding light on what's happening. So I wanted to also appreciate that, and thank you for giving me the time as usual. And again, I wish you all the best in the upcoming internal election. Have a blessed one and a blessed week ahead, everyone.
Thank you, Jen. And I will leave it there for today, folks, because it's 4 o'clock, basically. So 3.5 hours. Why? Wow, how time flies when you when it's been a while. So I said I'm not available on Tuesday, but I should be available on Thursday morning. Yeah, so we will chat again soon. So in the meantime, behave yourselves. Okay, right? And see, half of these comments I can't read. I cannot read it for you. They'll get me in problems. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, folks. As I say, if you're heading out to the back carpet, keep safe. Have a productive week. Make it a productive one. And yeah, we'll chat again soon. So many things to talk about. So you'll be seeing me a little more often because, as I said, this is the platform I'm going to use for my campaign. So remember to share the live so people can get to know me, those who don't know me. The what says we not behave. Yeah, I tell all you behave on yourself. Behave on yourself, right? Yeah, so persons who don't know me can get to know me, right? And you all know what to do on the 22nd. Okay? So Thursday, God's willing.